Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eberron. I think it's session 13, episode 13 of this chapter.
Oh
I think it is. I think it is.
no! Historically, episode 13s don't go well.
Oh, well then. Well, this one's starting off with Bellum's going to be about an hour late because he's at work and everything right now. So
Yeah, that's why.
So I do have to say, I tweeted about this earlier. I have to talk about my evening before we jump into the show because it was an interesting evening. So my wife and I both had the day off today because it's the last day of like a vacation we're taking together, and we had my daughter getting babysit by my parents, and we're like, we gotta have a couple hours. Oh my god, we have a couple hours. It's amazing. Let's go see Ant-Man. This is gonna be great. Well, that's how we'll spend a couple hours. We'll go see a movie. So we went to go see the movie, and we arrived there. And the movie has two open seats, the exact opposite ends of the theater. So we're like, well, clearly we can't see this movie. So let's see Jurassic World instead, even though it's probably garbage. So we look at that movie, 100% sold out, not a single seat. Okay, that's obviously not an option.
Weird.
Everything else there is not worth watching. So we were like, okay, maybe different cinema. Well, this one is solo, but it would get out so that we might start late, or we can go see Ant-Man in another theater, and it's going to be extremely late. Like, we're not starting until almost midnight. So, not an option.
Sorry, Scott, I'm a little confused. Do you mean Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Ant-Man.
Do you mean you're going back to watch the older movie?
The new Ant-Man that would be in theaters, Ollie. So we're like, you know
and
what?
the Wasp?
I'm sorry, Scott. When you say Jurassic World, I don't really know what you're talking about.
Jurassic World 2, Fallen Kingdom? I don't know.
You think I care about the titles?
I
Ant-Man,
don't care about the title of
Jurassic. Ant-Man,
Jurassic. The marketing department has paid a lot of money to come up with these titles, Scott. You will respect their sacrifice.
They're better than the titles you put on your shows.
Well, no, that's probably true. Eye of the Storm is perfect. So
Look,
So listen, no, it gets good. So we decide to go get a drink. Like, fuck it, let's go get a drink before we go back home. Not a big deal. So we go to a place to get a drink because they make a really good drink my wife likes. We get there. They're closed for 2 weeks because they're on vacation. Okay. We go to the place next door. Oh, do you have rum chata? I really want this drink made out of rum chata. Awesome. Oh, we're actually out of rum chata, and this place is way too hipster. So we're like, okay, well, we're not going to stay here. Let's go somewhere else. We go to another place. It's our favorite Chinese food place. We're going to go there. They're closed for 2 weeks for renovation and vacation. Okay, this is ridiculous. Not a problem. We're going to go to the center of a town nearby. There's a ton of restaurants there. We go to this first place called The Saloon. We're like, oh, this place looks nice. It's new. It's always super busy. I bet they have good drinks there. Closed for a week for vacation. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, across the street, I know the bartender that works there. She used to work for me years ago. This is going to be great. The business shut down. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay, that one's not there. Immediately next door to that, we go to another restaurant. They're also on vacation for the week. This is fucking ridiculous. So we drive down the street and for like a while more and eventually stop at another place that we know, okay, this is good, also closed. That's right. All of that fucking happened. Oh, we eventually ended up getting a mediocre meal at a mediocre place. But, are you fucking kidding me? All these places were closed in a row. Every location we tried to go to. That's the mood that this campaign's starting in. And that was your interesting story.
You have to ask yourself if that many restaurants you enjoy are closed. Is it the restaurants or is it you?
Yeah, they must have seen our car pulling up and they're like, everybody leave. Lights off.
I will say...
Lights off. Get a sign! Just print it! Where a document?
Time Scott started a stream with a story like this, a beholder came out of a forest and people died. That happened.
Tell you that you're a beautiful, intelligent young man.
So Scott, you know what? Your name's great.
I want to live. So if you want to just roll ones when you see that.
We all know you're just gonna run away anyway, Eric.
You better believe
Oh,
it.
damn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. I lived. So go ahead and get fucked. A lot of you. All 4 of you.
Well, anyways, that story has a lot more gravity for somebody that is a parent and understands that you never get time out of the house.
That's true. That's true.
But
To us young millennials who can just do whatever we want whenever we want.
I am a millennial as well, Ollie. Even if only by a couple
Oh,
of
really?
years.
Then why do you keep calling me one?
Because you're a real millennial.
It's true.
Like I do put avocado on a lot of things, but not my toast. Okay.
I've never had avocado toast, but I'll be honest,
I've literally
I
never.
kind of want it.
It does sound good. I put avocado on bagel. It sounds good. It is good.
Avocado on a toasted bagel. That's better. There we go.
It is really good.
Go full New York hipster.
And to answer you, Winter Bear, I am 32. So I was born in 85. I believe born
Basically
in 82 is the
already-
beginning of the millennials. But
Already dead.
that doesn't matter. So let's start the campaign. All right. Last session ended with you guys have last session was you guys finished the hop across the islands to get to the place where you're like, okay, we need to speak to House Thorani. You finally get there, and you end up coming across these strange goblin-kin creatures. They have like a horn for a nose, they're orange in skin, so on and so forth. They're very strange. You're able to avoid them because actually Bellum is pretty badass, and you're able to avoid them well enough to not get noticed, not have to fight them, so on and so forth. You're making your way through the area, trying to find the Thorani house. End up finding your way to an open cavern, one of the peaks of one of the mountains. Not all the way up the mountains, that'd be ridiculous, why would you camp there, but fairly high up in the mountainous region, trying to stay safe. Choosing to explore the next day, Kyrann ends up throwing a couple of them off of a cliff. Don't even have to really encounter them because she was just super aggressive. And then you end up going into this old abandoned Dakani city that was inside this, like, again,
Which
open
sucked.
roof, cavernous area.
City sucked. It would never pass health regulations. The buildings had no fire escapes. They had a horrible wind problem. Like, why would you even build up here? Can't do a damn thing. Can't call over to anyone.
Why do you think the Zakani Empire fell?
Bad
It was their lax fire regulations.
Yeah. Scott's gone. All right, I'm the DM now. Okay,
Done
so
now. You
Bellum,
fools.
getting rid of him. Shit
Yeah,
character.
This game is
Everyone
now.
likes orcs,
This
honestly.
is now the OSHA podcast.
If you want to be a half orc, be a half orc. Don't be like a quarter orc. What's the point?
The point is, you get to play basically a half orc, but all the benefits of playing a human.
I know.
Mechanical benefits.
Fool.
Oh, there we go. Okay, mute is gone. Sorry about that. So the down in that city, you guys were able to. So you guys were trying to explore the area and end up encountering a gorgon, which is, in case you're not familiar, an iron hide bull that has the ability to breathe a type of poisonous gas. And so you guys tried to evade this gorgon. Unfortunately, you're not successful and end up getting pinned down and caught into combat with it, specifically Bellum from within a house, a building. Kyrann ends up encountering another one all by her onesies and just utterly obliterates the thing without taking a single point of damage, because that'd be Kyrann. And Bellum got turned to stone. So literally the game ended up with...
I also obliterated one without taking a single point. Well, technically without sustaining a single point of damage.
Mm-hmm. So you guys end up just killing the two gorgons, but ends with literally you see Bellum's frozen as a statue. You have a couple of comments about it. So we're actually going to pick up almost immediately where that left off. You guys had seen him frozen as a statue. You had your conversation that you did before. And then, probably another like 10, 15 minutes pass with you being inside the building, because it's relatively safe. With you being inside the building, like... Okay, it's literally just the two of you, because Bellum is frozen statue, and the other guy you had sent away, Kyrann, can't find.
Right, I was gonna go look for him.
Gotcha. So you're gonna
After finish up the conversation with Stalwar.
So you go to look for him, and Stalbor stays behind with Bellum.
Yeah, gonna do like medical checks on the statue, I guess. See if it's just like a thin layer of stone, or if he's actually turned entirely to stone.
Gotcha.
Could be one or the other.
She's a little bit off.
Sure. So
magic is more refined than that, Kyrann.
Well, don't you have mending?
I do.
So
You
could.
can chisel a little bit off.
I'm not gonna do that.
So he goes over and he grabs like a finger, and it's like, oh, I should probably put that back. So Kyrann, you go out and you're trying to find him. You can actually roll for me a survival and a perception check. Ollie, you're going to make for me a medicine. And did you want to do like an arcana or anything else?
I'll do a medicine and an arcana. I like the idea of that.
Sure, please.
That's magical.
Oh! Welcome back, Eric.
Hi.
My story was just so exciting for me, even if it
I'm
was
doing
only
well.
for me. But welcome back, buddy. How you been? How's
I've been really good.
how's the stinky state of New Jersey?
It really does smell like garbage when you first come in.
Well, yeah, on the highway there's that.
It smells like a fucking landfill.
I want to point out, I like how Aaron's room has like all the stuff, all the nerd stuff, and it just looks like Eric is like in a prison cell. It's just
That's very
magnolia
funny
wall.
Funny that you say that, Ollie.
This is a pre-stream conversation, and Aaron won.
Well,
At least Aaron has a
Aaron-
freaking Corvette map back there.
Aaron's been a goddamn saint.
get that for me.
Here. The place is a mess right now because I've done like zero work, but all the stuff that you see behind Aaron, she did all that. She unpacked like
No
almost
one,
every box
no
that we
one
had.
thought.
Look, I was gonna say that I actually pretty wholeheartedly believe that already.
Hey, fuck you guys.
Hey, you know,
I'm very,
you only
very
in England, you only make fun of people you like. And that's true.
I make fun of everybody. So
Yeah, that's because you're a stinky American.
Yell for Peter. Like, Peter, Peter. No.
Aaron, roll me your survival as well, please.
Oh yeah, this guy's called Peter. I remember now.
So Aaron is wrong poorly. So Aaron, you go searching around for a long while trying to find Peter, and unfortunately you find no signs of him. You find no tracks of his. You find no sight of where he would be. Even with the understanding of, you know, the winds may have really impacted the way he would have been able to fly, if at all. So kind of like trying to stick to the areas where you think maybe the winds would have carried him off to, an area over there, like actually being wise or at least intelligent about it. Unfortunately, you're not able to find Peter at all. No signs of him. Stalbor, you make a medicine check over with Bellum, and you come to the conclusion he is stoned. There's no heartbeat. There's no anything like that. There's no signs of life whatsoever. You're trying to do an Arcana check and everything, so I imagine the combination of, you know, ritual cast, detect magic, and so on and so forth. We will even say so much as you break off like a finger and you go, oh, this is solid straight through. At least here it is. At least the appendages reattach to things, so you know it's safe. Just kind of like looking at the magics you see there is no lingering magic. Oh wait, no, this isn't 3. Sorry, there is a lingering transmutation effect that seems to be on him, but the transmutation effect is not one of those like, oh, there's an aura around him and it can easily be dispelled.
It's not the spell on him. It is the sort of the aftermath of the spell.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not something I can dispel. Mm-hmm. It's just that he was changed by such powerful magic.
Yes, exactly. And he is, in fact, a stone boy right in front of you, having just thrown something. A stone boy right in front of you. So, unfortunately, that's Bellum. Kyrann, you eventually are going to be able to make your way back to Stalbor around when he's coming to this conclusion. Whoa, my camera, I need to fix it. It was autofocusing. So, you come walking back into the room, having seen no other signs of any other Gorgons either.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
I guess I'm gonna try to fire off a flare so he at least knows where we are. Knowing that this could also attract danger, but not Kyrann.
Yeah. You'll just take care of it. You're Kyrann.
I'll just toss a lightning ball up in the air.
Sure. So you
definitely have spell slots.
You toss the lightning bolt up in the air to make sure that everything's good to go there, and fucking Kyrann, why are you being stupid? Boom. Okay, that's better. So you toss the lightning bolt up in the air to make sure that everything's good, and to make sure that he would have some means of being able to find you. But unfortunately, he does not seem to notice in the next several minutes at least, because he doesn't return. You come into to Stalbor.
Well, I can't find Peter.
Good, now we've lost 2 people.
Not forever. Just for now.
I'm aware that Bellum is fixable. The issue being is that he is incredibly heavy, even for me and this belt. I can drag him. I can't so much lift him. We cannot so much carry him. I'm fairly sure his carpet, which Stalbor would have just sort of like if Bellum was here, it's very like just shoved into a side bag. Just no respect at all.
The side bag would be the bag of holding.
I don't have a bag of holding.
He does.
Oh, Bellum does. No, I didn't put it. I just took it.
You didn't take the bag of holding that it was
I
already
guess
in?
I would take all of the things he had on him that didn't turn to stone. I didn't even remember he had a bag of holding until you said it.
What happens if like you have like a little like mini bag of holding? It's like inside your jacket and like over. Does the magic item like pop out, or is it like inside the statue now?
I imagine the jacket wouldn't. I'd know.
Like if it was like inside pocket,
Hmm.
and then you couldn't move it. 'cause
How
it was...
curious. I think that's why those don't exist in standard D&D rules.
All right. So that aside, so do we think that the Gorgons were placed here as like a trap, or do we think that they are just like native?
I think they're placed here. There's nothing for them to eat here.
Then maybe
Actually-
whoever placed them here has an antidote for when they're dealing with them.
I'm gonna do a nature check to see if Gorgons eat because they're metal.
Okay, so
I've never encountered a Gorgon before.
you unfortunately aren't able to discern, even going out with a gorgon out there and like opening its mouth and seeing its tongue, which is also comprised of metal, and the teeth that it has, which are comprised of metal, and the roof of its mouth that is comprised of metal. The only conclusion you're able to really find is maybe the entire beast through and through, in and out, is completely comprised of metal. So what it consumes, you wouldn't necessarily be able to find. You might be able to try to get the contents of its stomach out to you, but it's going to be difficult with a metal esophagus kind of sealed shut.
I'm not gonna go that far. I'm just sort of. I mean, I think you might be right. We've seen no sign of any civilization that's currently here. But you're right. Probably an antidote. Would be here.
My thought process is either they were placed here, and whoever placed them here could have an antidote, or they're just a natural feature of the land, and then maybe the natural inhabitants of this land also have an antidote, like the goblinoid chieftains or whatever.
That's an idea. So are you saying we go back towards them or we search the city?
Well, I haven't seen any more of them, so it's probably a little safer to search. And then if we fail, we can always go back.
As long as we don't encounter more of them. Alright. I agree. I think we should do the search.
Okay.
Okay.
How late is it, Scott?
I mean, when you guys came in here, it was still really early in the day, and you did travel for a bit, but not that long. So it's still before midday. It's still before noon. It's morning. And I would even say not even very late morning.
All right. So I guess we're gonna keep looking around.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys head back out of the house. Of course, Stalbor is a goddamn genius. So there's what, 22 intelligence or whatever it is.
Yes.
So there's no. He could perfectly memorize his way back here. Yes, Kyrann?
I'm
Okay,
gonna leave a note for Peter on like Bellum's like forehead. Gone to investigate the rest of the city. If you find this, please stay here.
How does the note stick to Bellum's forehead?
I don't know. Take out some gum. And, like stick
You'd
it.
like lick it.
Okay, so you use some sort of, we'll say, adhesive. Okay. You need to like pierce into it.
This goes back to like the standard D&D logic of like, you just have vials because you're going to be collecting vials, shit in vials. No, you just have vials. Stop asking. You just have them. That happens all the time for me.
So you guys go back out
Gone.
to the main road, I imagine, Ollie?
And you said there kind of wasn't a main road.
The one, my apologies. You are correct. There is no specific main road. The road that you were traveling down prior, the one that you guys were staying straight down when you deviated and later on she deviated.
No. I suppose I wouldn't so much. I would more... Because that was more like Bellum's logic. I kind of want to maybe, based on the layout of the city, figure out if there were to be anywhere underground where the entrances would be, you know, entrances to, if there were sewage systems, if there were bunkers, which there probably would be in a city like this, that would be more what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. So you would roll for me like almost like an architecture check. So this is going to be a flat intelligence check for me. And then you can also make a history check pertaining to like Dakani specific stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Ooh, hello.
I'm happy with that. I was gonna say, if we did, because you can add more skills on the Roll20 sheets. If you did say architecture, there's a solid chance that Stalbor would have like entered the game with some architecture.
Oh, I imagine
it just
he
kind
would
of
have.
fits. Yeah.
So, or if he didn't, within the third session, would have added it and retconned. Oh, I always had that.
Or would have been like, Scott, I want to take. Wait, actually, according to Xanathar's guide, it takes me 4 weeks to learn a new skill. So I would have just learned it. I need a guide though, so that's why I haven't done it.
Yeah. We also don't have a lot of downtime for this plot, but
We're
so
always on a ship or something.
We're
So
always
you-
on a ship. We have tons of downtime.
I'm working on the ship. I'm counting things.
yeah,
Remember, that's my
hire a
job.
better crew. You know. So you one of the things you do is you're thinking to yourself like, you look up at the hole in the ceiling and you're thinking there must be rain that comes despite this wind. There must be rain that comes in here and potentially even a significant amount. So that must go somewhere. And so getting an idea, you take like a small like ball or marble, whatever, out from your thing, and you drop it on the ground, and you see that the ground does in fact curve. It is not perfectly flat. It does have a slight incline to it. And so with that being said, you're like, okay, well, there most likely are drains because of this that are along the walls. So I know that that's at least a type of way in there. But but thinking to yourself, are there any other ways that there might be entrances beyond a sewer drain for a pretty organized group of people? You know that the Takani are very, very defensive, everything is designed with a specific intent. So if there were a place that they were going to have people come in, it would be the most defensible spot, somewhere that the entire city would be able to protect against were there to be an attack coming from there. Well, you know that a way that somebody could attack this stronghold would certainly be from overhead. So to have one, say, in the center or somewhere anywhere near the bowl happening from down below would mean that, by having somebody attack from the center, you know that they would be able to kind of like centralize their forces in a ring around that. So most likely the center of this place would be the spot where they can kind of force all combatants from two sides in kind of like the same area. So that's like your logic. Go to the parameter to check drain pipes, or go to the center to look for like an entrance that would be for foot.
I think center is more. I think it makes more sense to go do that first anyway.
Okay, so
I don't want a sewer episode.
So you make your way, try to make your way to the center of the place with your 15 history. I'm going to say it's good enough for your architecture to be able to find your way there, and your 20 intelligence. Good enough to get yourself there, no problem. While you're traveling to the center of the city, around the various buildings, could both of you guys please roll me perception checks? So it's Stalbor that occasionally when Stalbor's looking for the center, he's not just looking down or going based off how he's kind of calculated it. He is constantly doing calculations by glancing up at the hole above and kind of like centering, like triangulating from where he is to where the center of the hole above is, so on and so forth, to where he's heading towards. At one point in time when he looks up, usually the amount of light coming through the roof with the amount of darkness that you guys are in, that kind of like disparity would blind many people. You guys, it doesn't really, being an elf and a half elf. And so you see that there is a fairly hefty length of chain coming down from one of the rims. And when I say hefty, I don't mean like, oh, it's a pretty thick like cord or chain that somebody could easily climb.
This is big boy chain.
Big boy chain, like your hands could pass into each ring and use it like
that's
a
what we
ladder to
want.
climb. So there's a
Giant chain.
very hefty chain that's dangling down. By the time you
That's
kind
dangling down from a building?
dangling down from the actual hole up above, dangling down into the city, the whole drop.
Oh, I never imagined it as that tight of a crater. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
So you actually see that chain. So again, it's like a dome that has like an opening in the top. So anyways, you guys actually you see somebody climbing down that chain. By the time like Kyrann can look up, she can see the chain too. But you, Stalbor, see somebody climbing down it.
I do that with my stick, which I do all the time because Stalbor is ultimately an old man, and point and whisper, and I'll try and figure out who they are a little more. Just spending more time just sort of staring, letting my elf eyes see. I don't think I have any sort of ability that can help me do that, unfortunately, which would be cool.
So I don't think you do have any spells or anything.
Wait, Kyrann, do you have your spyglass on you?
Yeah, here.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. You grab your spyglass and look up, and you see a very familiar red-skinned hobgoblin climbing down this length of chain.
There's like a little bounce from Stalborged. Kyrann, it's Reich.
What?
It's Reich.
Why is it? It can't be Rick.
It is Reich, or it's someone wearing Reich's skin, which is not that uncommon around here. And then I just
I feel like you're implying something.
I feel like I'm implying that there's a lot of Kyranns walking around at the moment.
I don't really see the problem with that.
You wouldn't.
I grab the spyglass from him and I'll take a look.
I'm just gonna start heading off towards that way.
I mean, Kyrann, you know that tight ass if you were to see it anywhere. So
Hey,
Reich,
you're doing them squats every day, boy.
Yeah, that's not. Reich definitely does have a nice ass. It's just in character.
never mind, Eric. You could go back on vacation. Go back
We
and hide
got
us.
what we wanted.
Oh, this is actually my last session. You see Frank fall off the chain.
It's 20d6. You know, let's.
Yeah.
How much can you reduce that damage by as a monk of your level?
I could do, I think, like, up to 46 worth of damage. I'd have to go over here.
Okay, so let's assume you already climbed down 20 feet before you fell. Let's roll. What would that be? Still 12d6? We say 4 and what did I say? 20. So sorry, that'd be 14d6.
Hey, baby.
Let's see if this would kill you, Eric.
That's survivable.
Oh, that's definitely survivable. That's a shitty
Hey,
roll.
I lived. Get at it.
That's
That's a
the
garbage
exact
roll.
amount of health I have.
My knees are inside of my chest, but I'm alive.
Good old D&D. But that didn't really happen. That was a what if.
So, you guys start making your way over there. Kyrann, do you fly up to him? Do you like cast fly again and fly up to him, or do you? Okay. And Stalbor, you just start jogging that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
a Terminator run.
So Kyrann obviously gets to where she's going first. Kyrann, you fly right up to Reich as he's climbing down. Reich, what it is as you're climbing down this chain, you have a very specific plan in mind, a very specific task in mind. You're trying to get yourself into the mindset that you need to have to be able to accomplish this, because this is no easy task that you intend to do. And you're climbing down the chain to do so. All of a sudden, the howling winds that are picking up and blasting against your side, and it's actually causing the chains to sway and weave back and forth. Luckily, these chains are very, very, very heavy. They're dropping down the whole 200-foot length. They're sitting with extra several feet at the bottom, kind of anchoring it to the bottom of the ground. And the blasts of wind, which are causing the chains to sway, are not enough to loosen your grip from the metal that you're grasping. But all of a sudden, that wind immediately ends, and it's almost like a deafening silence from the fact that wind just comes to a stop. But that deafening silence, if it couldn't get any more intimidating than that, is pierced by the worst possible sound you can hear. Kyrann?
Hey, Reich, let go of the chain.
Ah, the horror! I just, like, look very confused for a moment. I look down, confirm it is actually Kyrann I just heard, and I'm going to get to where I can just drop safely, and I'll slow fall the rest of the way.
How high up are we?
Hi.
I would say he's still like a solid 160 up.
Alright,
160 up?
I'm going to continue climbing then. I'm going to stop for a
No,
second.
just
I'm
let
gonna say,
just let go of the chain. It'll be fine. Trust me.
Kyrann,
Shock.
what are you
Pass?
doing?
Well, a dragon told us to come here, and so we're here.
Okay, that's actually a little bit more interesting than my story.
Good.
Well, I'm going to keep climbing. And so I keep doing that. I'm going to climb down till I get to a safe distance, and then I'll drop down to the ground.
I could just, take care of this. Because you're going really slow. I'm just gonna, follow him down.
You know, this is a little bit unnerving when you follow me like that.
Yeah, well, you're taking forever, so you could just let go of the chain.
After I hit the ground, I look at Kyrann and I say, How much do you know about this place?
I know very little. I know there's Gorgons. Or were Gorgons.
Gorgons.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, Belen's a statue.
I left you in charge.
I was always in charge.
The hindsight being 2020, I think that was probably my first mistake, but relevant now. Is he nearby?
Yeah, we left him a little.
And is he actually stone or is he just
Actually,
paralyzed? God's above. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to find a way to get him out of here. Is Stalbor with her?
Nope.
Not flying. I'm at the bottom of the chain by now, probably.
Stalbor is probably now at the bottom of the chain. And so Stalbor's down at the bottom. Stalbor, you can see the chains kind of moving a little bit from the wind blasting the chain.
Yeah,
above,
I
but-
hold it in place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. You do. And you look up and you see they're getting like 160 feet up, which isn't that
I
far.
just see them slowly
Also-
going down. I'm like, well,
We're
I don't
missing
mind.
someone?
Well, when I see Stalbor, I'll give him a wave. Say, hello there, Stalbor. A pleasure to see you, alive and as of yet unparalyzed.
Yes. Yes, Kyrann continues to make light of the fact that one of our dearest companions has turned into a statue made of stone.
Well,
I'm not making light of it.
You are making light of it. It is incredibly rude. It is disrespectful to the potentially dead.
Well, hopefully we'll laugh about it one day.
well,
That-
let us hope that this
Actually, he could
was-
outlive us in his state, I'm pretty sure. Right?
let us hope
Now
that this is
live
a permanent situation. I'm not well versed with curing stone, but I'm hoping some sort of cleric will have a remedy to the ailment. Do we have a way of moving him?
He is vastly too heavy to move in any ways we have means. But Kyrann reckons that the Gorgons were placed here as some sort of defense mechanism. Whoever placed them here probably has an antidote or a remedy or a cure or a spell scroll or some thing.
Some measure of protecting themselves.
Of course. You wouldn't
Well-
drop off creatures that can turn people to stone if they might turn you to stone while you're doing it.
Do you know how long those Gorgons could have lived? This area was once a Dakani city. Though I doubt they're that old. It's possible that they're an old security measure that had been activated when you came into this place.
Because Eric is new to the to this game because he wasn't here last week or whatever. To paint the picture, Reich is still holding on to the chain, maybe continuing to climb down. Kyrann is flying next to him, probably annoyed that he wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
And the two of them are having a calm conversation. Stalbor is down below in the billowing winds, hollering up.
I suppose I could be using message.
And Reich is, but then Kyrann wouldn't be able to hear it.
I know.
And then Reich is kind of like, not necessarily hollering back down, and because he doesn't hear the wind, you know what I mean? He just thinks, but he's not unwise though. He's not unwise. He figures
I
it
would
out.
just wait to get to the bottom before
Yeah.
we start having this conversation. 'Cause,
Yeah, when we get to the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
once I finally reach the bottom, I will say, if that's the case, there may be no master to these creatures, or no living master at least.
No living master is easier than nothing. If I can find a corpse, I can find answers.
Well, then it looks like we have but one way to travel. It's a good thing. We came upon each other here. I fear if the Gorgons met you here, then deeper in, the dangers will only get worse.
We are missing someone. I brought with us. We got separated during the fight.
Who's
Yes,
this?
one of Kieran's little fan club.
Who is this?
His name is Peter.
You know, the Elvish word for this is cosplay.
I don't think that's
Peter.
true. I speak Elvish.
I don't remember a crew member named Peter.
He was new.
He's new.
Was.
Is.
Kyrann lost him.
I had to get away from the Gorgons. Otherwise, we're trying to carry 2 statues.
I suppose it's better to lose him than to have him turn to stone, yes. But let's worry about Bellum first. Bellum has practical uses.
I'm just letting Reg know. And Peter also has practical uses. Peter is a changeling.
Okay. And you brought him with you because?
We got diverted while we were intending to do something else. I don't know if Kyrann told you. A dragon presented itself towards us and
He
told
did.
us to change our course.
I wasn't exactly sure how embellished that was.
I can tell you with...
I didn't embellish.
Man, it was a dragon.
Apparently not.
So we changed our direction quite suddenly, and we had Peter just with us. We were going to drop him off, but there's no port or something similar on these islands.
He can also communicate with N and the others, so it's good to have one of them around.
Okay, well, I guess we need to find Peter first.
I
When did
vote
you-
we try and find this cure first. Peter was...
No,
Kyrann, you said you
hopefully-
sent him into the air?
Well,
I did, and that spell is over.
not to be crass, but it's not like Bellum's going anywhere. And Peter may be in direct danger right now. Bellum, ironically, is safer than we are at this point.
Stoutboy doesn't like Peter.
I don't like him so much that I won't try and save his life after you doomed him. Reich, as usual, is wise and mostly correct.
Well, let us go and try to find Peter. And then from there, either once we find him or his corpse, we can continue onward.
If only we had somebody with us who was good at finding things.
Thank you for pointing out the terrible irony that is the situation. So,
He'll be
where
fine, Stoutboy.
where did you send him flying? That's
I'll
where
bring
we
him back
should
to the spot
Yeah, we can go back that way.
where we separated, and then like point off in the direction they flew off into. The wind kind of took him that way.
I'll take a moment, look over Bellum. It's like, this is perturbing. That way, you say?
The note is still on his face.
So you bring him specifically to where Bellum is frozen as a statue. So Eric, one of the things to point out is that the Gorgon that Ollie actually killed died right outside that building. You can see where the Gorgon had wrestled its way into the building, breaking through the door frame and wrestled its way back out, and died very, very close to the front of that building itself. You know that you have to take care of something with that Gorgon quickly before you can kind of like press on. Do you want to do that now while you're here, or take care of finding her friend first?
Well, we should probably do that now, just in case. We don't know where her friend's going to be.
Okay. The thing is, of course, comprised of metal, so you do have to try to rip that thing open to grab the one of the lungs of the Gorgon. How do you intend to do that? You just magic sword?
Yeah. So you see me pretty without explanation, just go over, like, kind of shifting the Gorgon around, pull out my sword and just measure the thing out, and I jab the sword into the thing's chest and just start rending it open.
Now,
Well,
because it is
I understand the desire for vengeance, but it's not hurting anyone anymore.
No, I need something from inside of it.
because it is metal on metal, it does make this horrible scraping, high-pitched, nasty noise. It's like drilling through you as it goes. The person it affects least is Reich, because Reich is at least the one in control of it. You know what I mean? But it is not pleasant for anybody involved. Eventually,
Kyrann, make some noise, make some thunder.
It hurts.
it's one of those things you try to walk away, but it's just so piercing. Makes your
Sharp noise.
teeth hurt. You know what I mean?
Ah.
So So you eventually are able to rip the thing's like belly open with the cutting, and after you like do enough ripping to it, you can kind of like grab it. And actually, Stalbor can assist you here because of how fucking strong he is. He can grab the cut open metal parts and like pry them open enough you can see on the inside. What you do find inside is the thing actually does have organs, like flesh organs. It doesn't seem like its innermost parts are made out of metal. So you are able to find its lungs, and you only really need one of them unless you tend to take both. And these are massive because it's a large-sized creature, and you're able to rip out cut it off and grab the thing. You do confirm with Stalbor which one the lung is, and you're able to pull it out and put it into your bag.
Okay.
It is very large and very heavy.
I feel the need to ask why.
Well, the reason I came to this place is I'm looking for something. And I spoke with the locals before I came here, and they made me aware of certain things that I would require to make my way through the temple. I don't exactly know what it'll be required for yet, but I'm sure once we get there, we'll find out.
So, presenting the different pieces to Stalbor so Stalbor can see them. Stalbor, you of course see this massive fucking lung that you just saw him cut out of the Gorgon. You also do see a pair of eyes that look to be reptilian and also not small either. You look at the eyes, and again, they almost seem to still be alive. And as you look into them, they seem to have this, like, it almost gives you pause. Like, it almost like, it makes you freeze up even for just a moment as you look into the eyes. And then there's a tongue that you see as well. This tongue is very strange in its shape and whatnot. You actually have to make me a check to find out what that is. It'd be a medicine check.
Oh, I did nature because I assumed it was.
Oh, nature works. That's fine. Nature works. That's fine. It is a corpse, so you could have rolled with advantage unless it only applies to people.
Oh, I mean that's up to you, mate. I'm happy with an 18. I'm not.
Yeah, I feel like they would only apply to people. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
people
with your
maybe like cats.
So it does seem to be an avian tongue, though larger than any chicken or turkey or anything like that tongue you've ever seen before. But it does seem to be an avian tongue that's there. And then lastly, the last thing you find is a heart that is literally, you can tell it's heart. You can see the ventricles, the atria, and all that stuff. A heart that is actually comprised, it is stone through and through.
The tongue, that's a cockatrice tongue, I'm assuming, right?
Correct.
Well, you've been busy.
Oh, and the heart was animated statues.
Oh, they have hearts? Creepy.
Oh, it's like a gargoyle. That's cool.
And so I would present these, and I say, I'm assuming you are starting to come across the pattern I am with these various organs. They all seem to be associated with, looking to William's character, stone in some manner
Stone, petrification. Well, that's convenient. You said temple?
It may be a misuse of the word. It's city. It's an old.
We were heading towards a place in the middle of the city that might be defensible, a place of meeting, a place of prayer.
That's probably the best place to look.
We can head on to that after we find our missing changeling.
And let's get to that.
And so,
sorry.
No, you're fine. You look to. I was only interrupting you. Sorry. So you do go to search around trying to find Peter. You're going to roll for me a survival and perception checks, and since everybody's looking, you can all roll.
I want to try and basically figure out the winds, which direction the winds would have taken him, instead of like looking on the ground.
You can.
I know it's probably the same thing.
No, you can do nature instead of survival if that benefits you, Stalwart.
All right, that makes more sense as well. Boop. Lorp.
And that probably does, because I think that's actually a better roll than survival would have been for you.
Oh, so survival, no, grey, no good.
So Kyrann once again kind of points out what it was that she had suggested beforehand and gives her opinion based off of what she knows of wind. And she does know wind well. She doesn't study it to the point where she knows how it affects, things that, it blows against, like sails or ships in combat.
She just knows how it works.
Yeah, that's it. She just
Practical
knows.
learning in the field.
Yeah, no, she actually understands it extremely well, and so was able to give like a good beginning. And that good beginning, Stallbor is able to pick up and be like, no, you're not wrong. But look at like these gusts. There's like a pattern to them. And so you guys are able to figure that out and try to find out like maybe how the winds would have affected the flight. There's a bit of a theory talk between the two of you guys and how the wind would have affected the flight. By that I mean Stallbor talks and Kyrann pretends to care and nods, because that shit doesn't matter to her. And then you guys start like actually going around the area and searching. How much time do you intend to invest into the searching?
After probably like half an hour.
We probably don't want to do the temple until like tomorrow morning, right? Because we probably want to rest up and get our spell slots back.
At this point, yeah, we might as well do it for the rest of the day if we need to.
Okay. Right, you cool with that?
I would seem to get antsy, but if they mention that they need to rest to regain their spell slots, I'll oblige.
Okay.
We use that exact wording too. It's very weird.
Now, I've heard this theory. On the theory of magic called spell slots.
This whole
I need one more intelligence advantage and Stallbor realizes he's in a game.
I've begun to write a book, a manual to traversing dungeons.
Have you seen?
Call it the Dungeon Master's Guide.
I've seen. I don't know if it was in a game or a rule set. A warlock that is their patron is the DM.
Yep. That's So that is not Left Hand of Darkness. It's it's the Kobold Press or one of those like. It's I could find it. It's one of those the people that actually write for Pathfinder and D&D, their own homebrew, that I truly respect, and most of their stuff I just kind of go.
Yeah, Kobold Press.
Yes.
I have Tome of Beasts.
Yeah. So Kobold Press, and they have a version of that for 5e, and it's pretty funny. So
Scott, you'll have to tell the story one time about the binder that you and Mike put together.
Oh, that binder will one day be in a campaign. It's just Dave can't be involved. So so you guys make your way searching around the entire cavernous area trying to find him. When eventually you do, it's actually several hours later, a solid 5 hours later, bringing you into the late afternoon, early evening, that you're able to find him unconscious and battered against a wall. As a matter of fact, you think he's dead when you first come across him, but Stallbor, going over and examining him, realizes that he is not. A little bit to his dismay, because, a corpse he can use, but a changeling, that's Kieran's territory. So, you were able to find him very injured, but alive.
I'll
Awesome.
probably take camp here, make sure he doesn't die in his sleep.
Can we bring him back to where Bellum is?
Yeah, absolutely. This place, again, is not incredibly huge. It was just a matter of finding where amongst the buildings he was knocked unconscious and lying. So you can, especially Stallbor, could easily hoist him and carry him. It's, again, so funny to think of.
Muscle wizard, what are you on about?
I mean, we could just give him a potion, you could walk.
No! We're not wasting a
Don't waste our
potion
potions on the plebes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just needs to sleep it off.
It's just funny, too, because he's... I think Stallbor's like natural strength is like a 9. So that's why it's like... That's why it's so funny. An 8, even
now
worse.
It's 21. And it's so good. You're never going to convince me to get rid of it.
Oh God! So you pick him up. You're able to bring him back. Now you could make camp down here. One of the things you do know, Reich, of course, is because of the fact that you've made friends with the locals. There are a handful of them that are right outside the rim of this cavernous area. Not immediately outside of it. Like you'd have to climb back out and go down a little, down the mountainside a little to be an area that's kind of safe from the winds and the cold and everything that would be up there that they would have to suffer against. But you do know that you do have peoples that have guided you here and are waiting for you to come back out after you complete your task of your collection. So you could stay down here in the house, which is kind of nice, with Bellum as a more or less a corpse, or you guys can leave the cavern altogether. Do you choose to stay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like it's completely silent. You take a long rest here. Nobody affects you. You've once again seen no more signs of any gorgons or anything down here. So next day,
Gorgeous.
you
And
you wake up fully refreshed. I mean, aside from the fact that it was extremely quiet and mellow because Kyrann calms all winds in the area, it was otherwise not bad sleep. You know, the three of you guys back together almost calmed your nerves, and despite what might be on the back of your mind, there's nothing that can bother you here. This is a genuinely safe spot where you don't have to worry about even people bothering you that are friendly. So Peter sleeps through the night. He does wake in the morning with a pounding headache and, sore back and neck and leg and a broken bone and so on and so forth.
I'll explain to him that we're going to go further into the city and that he can stay here and watch over Bellum. I point to Bellum.
It says, seems like a noble task. Okay.
I will hand him a potion, too.
He takes the potion and drinks it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys eventually get your stuff together and start heading towards the center of the city. When you get to the center of the city, hoping to find a place where others might be able to come up from below, you in fact don't find anything, Stalbor. Not in the immediate pinpoint center that you calculated, or in case of miscalculations, anywhere in the surroundings around the area around there that would be near the pinpoint center. You don't find any entrances from below.
Right, you know more about Dakani architecture than me. There should be something under this. I'm going to start, raising my staff and dropping it to kind of, listen to the echo to where it sounds hollow.
Mm-hmm. There is no hollow sounds, despite
No, but I'm going to, do it while walking around to see if I can, find it.
I understand, and immediately...
I'm mostly getting Reich to help.
Did the people I spoke to give me any idea of the layout of this place? I imagine they didn't, because they themselves haven't been here in forever.
Correct. And you had one specific task for coming here, which was to acquire what it was you had acquired.
Yeah. So, I look around. Is there anything I can do to try to help him out?
He had mentioned specifically Dakani architecture. You can roll me an advantaged history check.
Nice.
You come to a similar conclusion that Stalwar had beforehand. If this place probably does take in water, there would be a way to stop it from being able to flood, because that would obviously be bad. And very likely there is going to be sewer drains anywhere around here. You know that water always drains from the lowest point, so there's likely a curve to the ground. And so Stalbar probably even sees you pull like a marble or something round, an apple, whatever it is, to place on the ground to see if it would start rolling. And could probably even interject with, however he does so.
So I would follow it to to wherever we can find that lowest point. I would say, look around here for a sewer drain.
I was hoping we wouldn't have to go into sewers.
Yeah, well.
So you follow the walls, because again, this whole place is circular. So you go straight in any one path to bring yourselves all the way to one of the walls, one of the parameter walls, and they do come smooth to a finish to the ground. It was constructed well. Following along that area for a little while, you eventually do find grates that will act as sewers to take the water out of the area. But looking at them, they're honestly not very large in size. It looks as though a goblin could probably fit through them, very likely how it was that they were constructed in the first place. But none of you guys could fit in there. And there's a grate over them too, of course.
That makes sense. Use your goblins to do all the shitty jobs.
And so it seems as though there's no way down or further underneath this city. It seems to just be a city that is potentially entered and exited from the actual dome overhead, the open sky overhead. At least as of right now, from what you can discover.
What is it that you are seeking here? I look to them.
Well, right now we're seeking a way for Bellum to not be a statue.
One of the elvish houses has some kind of stronghold here. It may not be
Thorani?
here. This was just the only Thorani. It was just the only place we found, the first place we found, and thought it was worth a look.
Reminder, Reich, of what we had talked about before the session.
So
And you also know that the house is not anywhere near here. It's actually down in a wooded part of a different section of the island.
I would say this is just one of a few of these locations. And more importantly, Thorani is nowhere near this location. I would describe where Thorani actually is. Mentioning it is further. It is in a different location on the island. I know approximately where it is, and I can take you there. But we need to figure out a way to transport.
Didn't you have business here or no?
I got what I came here for.
Oh.
Thankfully, you had already taken care of the Gorgons for me. I was worried I was going to have to fight one by myself.
Aside from the whole turning people to stone thing, they weren't so tough. Now, that turning people to stone, it really was a kicker.
Yeah, that's really kind of the whole thing.
But shouldn't your temple be here? I mean,
Well, I didn't know it was going to be here, to be quite honest with you. I thought maybe I would find something more here, but that's not important. Let's worry about how we can get Bellum back to safety, and preferably somewhere we can get his condition taken care of.
he's unmovable.
I think I can turn him into a cloud, but I don't know how we'd move him as a cloud.
He is essentially unmovable at this state. I think we need to find a cure and then bring it to him. You said you had conversations with the goblinoids out and about. Perhaps they'll know more where this temple is. Imagine there's all kinds of ruins on an island like this.
Perhaps. Let's take our leave now. Are we going to leave Peter? You said his name was.
He'll be fine.
Are we gonna leave him
I'm
here?
not gonna leave him here.
He's looking after Bellum. It's an important job.
It's true.
I'm not gonna leave him here. They're
We need to make sure that Bellum is safe.
big goblinkin that want to kill us here. We can't leave them like stranded.
They don't all necessarily want to kill us.
Fine.
They wanted to kill us, so I killed them first.
Yes. Let's go get Peter and then leave and then talk to your goblinkin friends. Alright.
Okay, so you guys go back to where Peter is. Peter's was resting. It was one of those, like, he was lying there. He's awake, but he was lying there. He clearly poured like a little bit of water from his skin onto a rag and placed it over his head because he's got a nasty splitting headache and he's in a lot of pain. But he's more than happy to attempt to leave the place with you as well. But requests not flying.
Do you think you can climb up a giant chain?
He looks to his broken arm.
I hate to say this, but get on my back. I'm stronger than I look.
I've come to realize that it's just, well, it's how I'm going to survive. And he starts climbing onto your back long before you get to the chain. You're still inside the building.
Yeah. I carry him. I carry him there. I know you haven't seen any of the God of War stuff, Scott, but whenever they have to climb anything, the sun jumps on the back, and that's exactly what I'm imagining.
Did you ever play Enslaved?
A little bit.
With Monkey and the chick that's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
on his back? Like, she's like almost always on his back. So,
It's exactly what I'm imagining.
yeah. So he climbs on your back. You piggyback him through the city, and then start climbing the chain. I do need an athletics check from anybody who's climbing. Kyrann, do you only cast fly on yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. So athletics
That
check
should
from
be
the
a
two of you
fly.
guys. I'm waiting for somebody to slip and fall. Roll me a natty 1, Eric.
I mean, historically, it would be me, even though I have the +5 strength.
So the two of you have no problem. I mean, it's a long climb, but Kyrann flies nearby to you guys. I'm sure at some point in time she gets distracted and goes to check something out, and then like the gusts of wind blast against the side, and you're like, like, Kyrann, get back here! And she's like, oh yeah, that's right. And there's the float next to you guys as you very slowly climb, keeping the winds calm. Eventually, you do crest the rim. Kyrann, do you poke your head up before Reich does?
Yeah.
So eventually you do crest the rim, and you do see up there, roll me a perception check.
I don't think I've rolled. That's my highest perception check I think I've rolled this game so far.
Yeah, this entire campaign. So, so you go up there and you look, and you see nothing. You look around, so there's nothing there or anything like that. You do wait until eventually Reich kind of does crest over the lip as well. And then eventually Stalbor and the other guy on Stalbor's back, and you guys are up on the ridge. Reich, I imagine you want to go be up with your friends?
Yes.
Okay, roll me a survival to get back to them, no problems.
Survival, say.
He claimed it was the MacBook the whole time. Oh, it's because it's a MacBook. That's the reason why.
I have to find this skill. I don't use it very often.
That's the reason. It's under S. So you make your way through the rocky terrain that's up here and easily find your way back down to the goblins. Are you leading the group, walking in front, Reich, or not?
Only if I know this area.
I mean,
if I know...
you know it better than them, but certainly not well at all.
All right. Well, if I know it better than them, I would kind of. I don't usually lead if with this party, but once I realize that they don't really know the area, I would take over.
Okay, so you are leading through, and at one point in time, when you step between, like, kind of making your way through some rocks, and you step between two rocks that are kind of close together, as you step through, all of a sudden, immediately behind you, so immediately from either side of the rocks, that step in the way behind you, but in front of whoever was falling immediately behind you. So I imagine Stalbor was walking behind Reich. So walking order being like Reich, Stalbor, Kyrann probably slightly floating overhead nearby, kind of keeping an eye out and things. As Reich stepped through these two rocks that were large and somewhat close together, but easily pressed through, as he steps through, all of a sudden, pincering behind Reich in front of Stalbor are a couple of those orange goblinkin. They do appear that way. They do have spears in hands. Stalbor, what you can almost immediately notice is the spears aren't these crude things that you would see from some goblins just in a random cave somewhere. They are very well crafted spears. And once again, a very kind of broken goblin speak. One of them does say, you're safe. And immediately stands there and starts going to, like, thrust at Stalbor to attack at him. Raikou would, of course, speak before.
Yeah,
others.
I would kind of try to step in to intervene, and I would say, hold, and goblin.
One of them responds, the other responds saying, like, no, run, we've got you. And
no, these are my companions. I knew them from before. Before we met.
They look at Stalbor for a little while, and then they say you don't speak Goblin, do you, Stalbor?
No. I could have cast comprehend languages before this, but I didn't.
Yep.
You also have William's magic item.
I don't know if that was embedded in him. So I didn't take it.
But technically,
it was in. So that statue there has a very nice gem in its forehead.
I mean, technically speaking, you could
tear out,
pry it out, and leave a crater in his head.
Crowbar.
Yep. So once again, they speak a type of goblin that is very removed from the type that you speak, the dialect that you speak. So you guys understand each other, but it's broken, and sometimes things are misunderstood. You know what I mean? Like, if you were telling a joke or being sarcastic or something like that, it probably wouldn't come across the right way. That kind of disconnect.
Yeah.
So they do look to Stalbor and they say to Stal, like, say to you, but gesturing at Stalbor with a spear, tell him to tell us where she is.
I look at him and I say, who is?
The one that tried to kill our kin.
I turn to Stalbor and I say, they want to know where she is, the one that tried to kill their kin. I can only imagine.
They killed us first. Am I not there?
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
They
are.
tried to
You
kill us first.
yeah, you were kind of like floating overhead, so I imagine you just come within view.
I turn and I say, I think there may have been a confusion before. These people, though everything says otherwise, do not mean you harm. They are more than likely there was confusion when they first saw you. They did not know who or what you were.
Well, they said leave no survivors. So,
I'm saying this to Goblin. You speak
Oh.
Goblin?
no, I
Eh?
didn't know you were
Eh?
saying goblin.
Eh?
I thought you were
That
talking
goblin? Eh.
Eh? That's just how goblins sound like. They scream at each other.
It's just kind of like banjo kazoo.
It's beautiful language.
It's
So,
beautiful.
so refined.
The
language of
Italian,
love.
The Italian of Eberron. So I turn to I say to the goblin, I know she may have harmed your people, but they are not looking to harm you. I can speak for them.
So they couldn't obviously understand anything that they were saying, that Kyrann and Stalbor were saying. They more or less, they seem very dissatisfied with the situation, but they do lower their spears.
To add to it, Stalbor didn't like react when they went to attack him at all. He just sort of stood there, just like glaring at him.
I'm gonna look at Kyrann and I'm gonna say, be nice. You did murder some of their people.
Tried to.
They tried to murder me first.
What is she
While
saying?
hunting us through the forest.
One of them says to you, what is she saying?
She's attempting to defend her actions poorly.
She attacked us she attacked our friends by surprise for no reason. She has
I
no
think-
defense.
I look at Kyrann and I look back and I say, I find that highly unlikely that this was an unprovoked attack. I would be more likely that your friends acting in defense of their land attacked her.
We questioned them. There was no attack. The wind got quiet. The quiet wind spooked them. They went to see why the wind was quiet, and then they were thrown from cliffs. The fall almost killed them.
I turn slowly to Kyrann and I say, Kyrann, did you happen to attack these people when they came to question you?
They came on I just like stopped right away. They came across our camp in the night while Kyrann was the one defending the camp. So Kyrann assumed, not to speak for her, not to speak for you, darling, that they had the less than good intentions because Bellum told us that they probably wouldn't.
You know, after years of traveling with me, I thought that maybe we would have erased some of the goblin racism that is very evident in this.
Well, I may have described these as, relics of the Goblin Empire that may not be civilized, but it's a learning experience.
Uncivilized. A lot of people used to call my people uncivilized.
Technically, I don't
Reich is
think
actually
them
he has a
so.
smirk on his face. He's obviously joking at this, but he turns back to putting back his
I've tried your cooking.
impression, and he says, "Listen, I know that there's definitely an apology in order, and one that this conversation would lack the requisite time to present, but these people just are seeking something similar to what I'm looking for, and if you allow us to go safely, no more harm will come to your people as long as no harm comes to us."
So they just agree that they are willing to put this behind them since nobody was killed anyways. And as you know, they heal very, very, very fast. So so they're not that. It's not. It's one of those.
Torture. Are we?
No
we
true
torture?
harm. No true harm. No foul or anything
They
like
got
that.
thrown off a cliff.
Yeah, they did. They got thrown off a cliff and didn't.
Yeah, that's pretty much like stubbing a toe to these guys.
So anyways, they agree to the terms and they're fine with it. They give a goblin they give like a goblin, like, assuming that she had said I'm sorry, because the way you would phrase things at some point in time, they give like an acceptance of apologies to her in goblin. But in form, like, obviously that apology is going to have to be made more formally to the chieftain. Sorry, not the chieftain, to the leader who you're going to have to speak to. And you know that their leader is, of course, a religious person. There's their shaman. And so they start to lead you to where their shaman is. And with that, we'll actually take our first break.
Wow!
And, during that break, we're going to take William back onto the call. So
Might take a little while.
so that little hole
We're
down
bringing
there.
Sexy back.
Oh no, Sexy already came back. I just can't touch it. It's too hot. It's too hot. All right. Bye everybody. It's awkward.
What you were doing
It's
there?
awkward.
I don't know who was over there, but
I just
I hope
molested.
if they need to talk.
Hello, everybody. And welcome back to the show. So, the goblins that you had just met back up with, are leading you back to their shaman, their leader, who you've met before, again, whose name is Wakai. It's BW, Wakai. And Wakai is actually, so they lead you back to where he is. He's actually a nice person. He's a peaceful man. When you first made your way to to this island originally, he was welcomed you like open arms, like, oh, you're one of our kin that we haven't seen in a very long time. They immediately identified you as a hobgoblin, despite the fact that they haven't seen hobgoblins in probably hundreds, if not more, years, to the point where none of their lifespans or the oldest people that lived in their gathering, the oldest people that lived there couldn't recall any records of the oldest people they've known in their lives ever having met one. So it's been a long while since a hobgoblin has been here, but they immediately identified you. So they do bring you to meet with Buckim. Now, what the area that they live in, they do actually live inside caves, but these aren't just like these horrible, unkept, like ungroomed caves whatsoever. They actually are carved extremely well, squared off rooms, stuff like that. They are designed very comfortable, but are not buildings at all, and don't have buildings inside of them. There's actually not even doors that shut off different rooms. There's just like doorways and archways that shut off different rooms. And the caves that they selected are ones where they only need to be like carved to be squared off, as opposed to dug in like a dwarf would do, right? So they just like altered natural caves. So anyways, you when you go and you come into this area, which is actually, because of the fact that they are technically medium-sized creatures, but they are about 4 feet tall. So the ceilings here are particularly low. That is the most uncomfortable for Reich, who is obnoxiously tall in game and out of game. And so Reich actually has to, every archway, because they in every area where there's like a support beam or something set to hold the cave well, even though it is ornate and decorative, that is what it is, a support beam. Reich has to almost like bend a full third of his height to get underneath it, and he's already kind of hunched forward walking through the place in general. Everybody else who's not as tall as that does not have to worry about that. They can just kind of make their way to some slight degree of discomfort here and there. When you meet with Joaquin, he does have for some reason my sound keeps cutting out. It's really weird. Sorry everybody about weird technical difficulties today. So when you walk into his room, the area where you would meet with him, it's not overly ornate. It's not overly like showy. He does have various types of skins hanging up there, but not skins in a tribalistic barbarian sort of way. There's skins that are used because clearly there are different types of clothing or ornate garb that he would like throw onto his shoulders for different reasons, for different like meetings he would have with those that follow him, or maybe skins that have like the leathers being used to have important texts are written on top of them. But these aren't a backwards people. These aren't barbaric at all. They have written word, they have paper, they have all that stuff, and a means to create it. So when you meet with him, Joaquin actually speaks to you when you come into the room. He gives you what you've come to realize is their custom greeting, which is a kind of bow that they do. That's, you can see how the customs that you have as a true descendant of the Decani Empire and being more modern, how what you have is clearly some sort of descendant of what he does. They've held more to their old traditions than your people have. So he does that, and then he takes a moment and kind of like rubbing the base of his throat or where his clavicles are. You can see he's chanting something to himself, and then he speaks to you in perfect Decani, perfect goblin. And he speaks to Kyrann in perfect that mesh of half elf and elf, and that Stalber in perfect Aranel elvish. And
I
says,
assume I sort of recognize the spell.
and he says, "Welcome to my home." Welcome to my home. I graciously invite you.
I'm going to do a kind of Aeronel bow sort of thing. I was considering trying to basically copy theirs, but I'm not gonna bother.
I would give him a bow back into the in the Dargunian fashion.
Hi.
I'll also put Peter down somewhere.
Oh, I imagine you stopped carrying Peter a while back.
I feel comfort in your arms.
Never let go.
You just sort of get used to the weight after a bit.
Never let go, Jack. Never let go. So he does gesture to an area where there's clearly the stone has been carved in such a way for it to be comfortable for sitting, albeit for much smaller asses than your own, except for maybe Stalbor's. And he does gesture for you to take a seat there, and he says, "I'm sure that would be much more comfortable for you."
For who?
Yeah, I'll take a seat.
When Stalbor says that, he says,
No, I asked who he was talking to. Really.
for all of you.
Oh, okay then, sure. I'll sit.
Gotcha. So you guys could all go over there and sit down. And he does say to Reich, you had mentioned companions when you first arrived. I imagine this is them.
Yes, I had not anticipated running into them on the island, but it appears that they arrived here ahead of me.
Are they here to aid with the task? He says, looking to the others.
I shake my head. No, it was incidental that we met up. It appears that they were led here by providence or chance or fate, whatever you decide to believe. But as luck would have it, we met up.
It's a rather finite fate to land on an island like this, one that has almost no visitors from, well, at least to this portion of the island, from anyone else.
Well, a dragon sent us, so maybe he knew our companion was here.
Maybe they knew our fate.
I believe in no coincidence, no longer at least. I'm assuming there are forces at work here beyond our understanding, but I have a task to accomplish, and I will help my friends with whatever they need to do. So I look to Kyrann and Stalboy, and I say, "Why don't you tell him what you're here for?"
Well, first of all, one of our companions was petrified by a gorgon.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Is he in one piece?
He's completely in one piece. We left him in the ruins, somewhere safe. I am assuming the temple which you are sending my good friend here to has a key or a cure to petrification.
That's something that I could fashion a remedy for.
I would be most gracious. I have some magics that can manipulate stone itself if you would need some repairs to your home, or perhaps a statue or anything. I would be happy to repay you for this.
The creature that you encountered, there are many types of creatures on this island that have similar abilities, and so we've developed magic to be able to counter the ailments that it causes. We don't need your aid. You're a companion of Reich's, and Reich is doing noble work.
As you wish.
And I say, that is task number one. The second is, you mentioned to me when we spoke last that there's another group of your people that have chosen to work with the elves. House Thorani, as they're referred to.
Yes.
Do you know-
They've splintered off.
Do you know whereabouts they make their camp? They seek an audience with the House Thorani members, and I would help them find. I would help them find their way there if possible.
As I said, there are typically no visitors to this portion of the island. This is the northern side of the island where it's very cold, certainly up in the mountains where it's even colder. The southern portion of the island, it's more comfortable to the thin blood of the elves.
Okay. Then we'll have to make our way down there. I have made progress and collected the items that we spoke about last time. So I'll keep you in the loop how things progress.
Well, you had brought that map with you, the one that you had found, and together we were able to decipher where it was that you needed to collect those pieces and where it is that we need to bring them to. So I will take that map from you. I'll borrow it for a little longer, and we can discover where it is next that you need to go and bring them.
And I'll nod and begin shoveling through my backpack to pull out the map while we're talking.
Mm-hmm. You kind of like lay it out for him. So thanks you for it, and says, "This will take some time for me to finish doing that deciphering. You're welcome to spend that time how you'd like, of course, and you're welcome to be amongst our people. Though I do have a question to ask. There were a couple of mine that were injured. Apparently there was a she-elf that had pulled them from the mountainside, used electrical magic to do that. And I can actually see the static energies constantly wavering around this part elf that you have brought here. I have a feeling that the two are one and the same." And he, again, is speaking in... You can all perfectly understand him.
Yeah, I threw your friends off a cliff. I'm sorry about that.
That's rather crass. Did you intend to kill them?
Yes.
That's horrible. Why would you condemn two
They came
innocent
to our
people's
camp
life?
in the middle of the night.
After we had overheard mention of leaving no survivors while they were looking for us before.
My people don't kill visitors to the island.
Well, they said they would, so we protected ourselves.
See, this is where you're mistaken. You may have come across those that are not part of my people. They're splintered off and they work for Thorani, as you call them. So they behave different than those that follow us. So it seems as though your ire is with, well, the elves, and those that follow the elves. You've injured gravely two of my own. Fortunately, not to the point where they couldn't recover.
Good.
Is there some way that we can make up for this faux pas, so to speak?
Generally speaking, a genuine apology for something that has no true farm, no true foul, but unfortunately it seems as though this creature you carry with you is filled with magic but no love.
I apologized.
He doesn't respond.
I kind of shake my head and I say, "Well, if it means anything at all, you have my apology for this situation. We'll, as soon as you're finished with the map, we'll make our way out of the camp here, and the next time I see you, I will more than likely come alone."
He nods. You can see that there's a bit of like contemplation behind that nod, almost like he appreciates the fact that you would do so. And he says, the doors are open to you, which is a funny expression because I don't have any. He's like, the doors are open to you. You're welcome to come and go as you please. As long as nobody is being flung from cliff sides, it should not be an issue.
I don't think that will be a problem any longer. Is there an easier way for us to determine the difference between your people and those of the south? Any distinguishing marks or tribal?
The ones that choose to follow the elves, they've only splintered off from us. The elves arrived on the islands, as far as we understand, a couple decades ago, though they could have been hiding here for longer than that. It seems as though they have a strange magic emblazoned upon their flesh, a magic that allows them to stay from sight pretty well. After they were discovered, some years afterwards, some of our people got sick of the way that we live our lives and so chose to join them. They are so akin to who we are and how we live that you wouldn't know the difference unless you knew them personally or asked them.
Well, then we will do everything in our power to make sure that we no harm comes to your people anymore. Though my companion here does not seem to exude this, we are good people, and we don't intend to harm anyone that does not intend to harm us.
We had spoken before of the strictness of how our society had developed way back in time. The one that yours has blossomed from as the ages have passed, and why it is foolish to have the strict rulings that only women can be diplomats and only men can be warriors, because some men make better diplomats and some women certainly are better off as warriors.
Indeed.
I will fashion together this salve for you to bring to your petrified friend. He will be uncomfortable after it takes its setting, but it will work.
Okay.
With that, you guys can kind of like take your departure. I mean, feel free to RP walking out of the room, but I will tell you, it will be a few hours later on. He'll be able to get you the medicine you need to go to Bellum. So feel free as like leaving the room, any RP or whatever you'd like to do.
I look to Kyrann and I say, how's it that everywhere that we go, you somehow get us into some form of trouble?
I apologized. You should be proud of me.
I'm sure it'll only be better
I
now
feel-
that there are 5 or so Kyranns sailing around the
I
world.
feel like I've grown as a person.
5 or so Kyranns?
You've multiplied as a person.
Wait, what are you talking about?
So Salvador and I have an argument, and you can decide who's right. It's me, by the way.
Jesus.
Reich this is not an argument about Reich. This is what's going on. Peter here is part of a cabal of changelings that have been trained how to turn into Kyrann. Now they are continuing her work in the Principalities, which is a righteous cause. They are going to continue to battle in the freedom and yada yada yada, freeing people from their shackles and defeating Lyrindar, all pretending to be Kyrann at once.
How can you be certain that they'll act in a manner that you would find appropriate? Well, if one of them, I don't know, apologizes for something. A small
that would be
smirk.
perfectly in character, because I did just apologize.
Did you?
I say I have a small smirk on my face, and I say, but on a serious note, how do you know that these people will not ruin your reputation?
They work for
You mean
Kel.
my reputation as a Lyrindar excoriate?
Well, in the Principalities, our reputation matters for something. Your reputation in particular is the Principalities. This is something I was hoping to talk to you about a little bit later when, we were in the middle of something. But the Principalities are going to need a stable figurehead after this is done. And though I know leadership is not, I know that rulership is not something that you take to. Leadership definitely is. And I think that you could help pick who the next head of the Principalities will be once we're done. The 7 states only last in this situation. They're going to need a single head of state, someone who can pull them together when they hopefully rejoin the rest of the Galifarian nations.
Well, for now, I can say that I have faith that the changelings will do a fine job and won't act in a manner that doesn't benefit us, because Kel wants to stay in the shadows of all this. And if he acts out of turn, then we'll expose him and he'll no longer be in the shadows of all this. The people of the Principalities have no love the last point, and I'm sure they would all turn on them if they knew the truth. So,
What if someone finds out about this?
They will most likely topple everything that we've spent months, years building, and anyone who we would.
if anyone finds out about this, I'll just tell them that they're acting on my behalf.
Chiming in, Peter says, I imagine it will be discovered here and there and at times. Maybe eventually everybody discovers that it wasn't the real Kyrann. But if this all works out, I mean, the facts become drops of blood in an ocean. It all gets washed against the shore time and time again until when you pluck from the sea, you only find pearls.
How old are you, Peter?
It's a strange question to ask one of myself, but a little over 20 years.
You don't know anything.
I can tell
You know
this.
nothing, Jon Snow.
I can tell you this because this is how my people have always done well. The facts don't matter. It's what people remember and what's written down in the books that matters.
Now that's true.
That's, I suppose, I was being a little too sea-spirited with my analogies there, but it's true. It doesn't matter if people find out that Kyrann isn't the Kyrann that. What's going to be remembered if things work out is that Kyrann sailed with all the different armies, leaders. Kyrann was the one that had led this combat and that combat. It's going to be seen as a legendary feat by the greatest sea captain that has ever lived, not as she's a cheat and a liar. I mean, do you know all the details of how it was that your people ruled an entire continent for however long that was? I'm sure the nitty gritty would be.
I think both asking both myself, a historian of the Takani Empire, and an Aeronel elf who may have actually been alive during the previous rule, is probably not the best situation. But
no,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you're a historian who read books that were chosen facts that were put down, or at least chosen tellings. This is one of the most important things that a changeling learns. People believe what they want to believe, and so you just kind of guide them to that.
I see what you're saying. Well, I turn to Kyrann and I say, the pragmatist in me, as always, is hesitant and would recommend caution, but I think a little bit of storybook high adventure would do well for what we're going to do next. If I'm successful here, our next endeavor will be expanding influence into the actual Galiforian Empire. I just hope that this works out for the best for us. There's no guarantees in any of this. As long as you trust these people, then, as always, I have your back, Captain.
Thank you, Rick. And look, my dragon back grew.
I know this.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, Stella doesn't like that either.
Well, doesn't that just happen? I thought that happens with you
Yeah,
people.
it's probably gonna get bigger.
Don't say that.
What's wrong with that? Doesn't that mean
I have explained my theorem, right? Doesn't mean she
You
gets
didn't
stronger with-
explain it, but I was incredibly drunk when you did.
Maybe we're going to have to talk about your drinking another time then.
My drinking. But let's be real. If there's one person in this group that drinks responsibly, it's me.
Whoa! It's a can of worms you're unpacking. Holy shit!
Sort of just start joking, and it's like, no.
Yeah, let's not. All right, all right. Right, just takes off his shirt. What? All right.
That was the thing that just transpired.
So,
All right. So to the changeling, or sorry, the elves.
Okay.
well, don't we go? Aren't we gonna wait?
We
for
shall
the
wait for the
Oh, there we gotta
seed
go.
salve, get Bellum, then we go to Thrani. By the time we're back, then Reich's temple will have been deciphered. See, it all comes together. We just need someone who's old enough to put all the pieces together.
So you guys wait a few hours. He eventually does when you guys go back to check on him. He doesn't call for you or anything like that, but eventually Wright goes back to check on him. What he ends up giving you, it's actually not small. Almost think like a decent sized vase, like one of those floor vases that you would see inside somebody's house, where they would either have a bunch of fake flowers or like the big,
Rupees.
almost like sticks or reeds or whatever coming out of.
Yeah.
Some people use them from like umbrellas. So a large thing, and inside of it is this like thick, heavy, syrupy kind of goopy material that's very dark in color, and that's color with an O-R, not O-U-R. And so he.
I'm sorry, it's very. I don't understand.
This is America.
It's okay. It's not arcane magic, and that's why. So he does. It tells you. He says, take this and spread it onto every part of his body, from head to toe, and even under his feet. Once he's completely coated, the magic will be able to take effect.
I
Thanks.
know, and say thank you.
Okay. So please.
Yeah, I say I'll return to speak to you about the map once we've met with the elves. Thank you for everything.
So he, not a problem. Of course, it's noble work that you're doing. Is his response. And then once you're done milking that cow, you're able to grab the udder. Sorry, grab the.
I grabbed the bull by the horns, Scott.
I
This is
like
utter
that.
destruction.
You grab the
Cow, man.
the urn-esque thing and lift it up, hoist it up, and to bring it all the way back to the cave. How are you guys going to climb down if all of you guys climb down together?
Holding hands, of course.
I mean, we could jump.
You keep saying we can jump, but I don't want to die.
Kyrann,
Just have it.
despite her bad choices, does master wind.
Have fine choices.
You have fine choices in the moment. As soon as that plan lasts longer than around 30 seconds, it's terrible.
Well, I don't do long term.
I mean,
And then I'm gonna jump off.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that. I don't know. If I
And you have Featherfall? I assumed you had Featherfall. That was the whole plan.
Yeah, I did have Featherfall.
I
But
regret
this is
this.
further than 60 feet. So, I just have to time it right.
Yeah.
So we all gotta jump together.
well,
Yeah.
no. You cast feather. So he just jumps. You cast featherfall. It affects everybody. It's just others will be behind, right? So so you get cast at a Reich, and then he steps off and he falls. Now it is only a 200-foot fall. It does last for a minute, so you're safe for up to 600 feet. So you're
60 feet.
60
And
feet
you-
around every round for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you jump off, and then she's like, oh, and then it affects everybody. So then she steps off and starts following, and Reich's like, and then holding on to the vase, steps off and cradles the baby as you guys get all the way to the bottom.
Are you sure you don't want me to carry that? I mean, I should probably apply it. I am the medical professional.
I intended to have you apply it. I was just gonna hold it.
I guess I'm not holding Peter anymore.
Story of my life. So yeah, once we get there, I will hand it over to once we get to the bottom, I'll hand it over to him.
Yep. And Stalbor can carry it over. Now, don't worry, you don't have to worry about like rolling to whether or not you drop it or anything like that, because Kyrann is nearby and it stops the winds and everything. So you can just walk cautiously with it. And both of you guys are strong well enough that if you had a 10 strength or something lower, I'd totally beat you up, but you don't. So you make your way to the house. You start applying it. Again, it's literally a matter of like you're taking handfuls of this stuff. And
That
you're
will be
grouping
like
it on.
talking about it quite interesting. Like, I really do appreciate the mixture of magic and herbalism. It creates a magical circuit in a way where when we're going to create an entire shell around Bellum, that the magic will take effect. I believe that's incredibly interesting. And, Arcano babble.
So the stuff does finally, and you actually have to tip him over at one point to make sure you get under his feet and between his toes, and it's literally every little nook and cranny of Bellum that you have to kind of like goop.
Learning a lot
onto.
about Bellum's body.
And not so bad. But because of the fact that he is wearing clothing, if he does have like an area like a cloak, you have to get the inside and outside of the cloak,
exactly.
everything. So unless you just break the cloak off because it's easier, it's like,
No.
let's work. Let's work.
I'm an elf. This takes 5 hours. It takes 5 hours.
There you go. So and you finally to finish the thing off, you're like scraping the bottom of the bucket with like your hands cupping it to get it. And once it's all on him, it actually almost immediately takes effect once you're kind of like wiping the side of your hand to cover up the last little spot, like a spot behind his ear that you would have missed. As soon as you do so, all of a sudden it starts to move. Now, Bellum, you do actually lose the petrification condition, but because of the kind of spell that was used to bring you back, you do gain exhaustion level 5.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
So,
Zombie.
you
Jeez.
Guess who's on my back now? I can't carry Bellum.
you're greatly weakened, but you do actually start being able to move again, more or less slop to the ground.
I literally, just like I'm just like reaching out like this, and like my arm just falls to its side. I look at the group, I fall down to my knees and just slouch to the ground, taking very deep, heavy breaths, coughing a bit.
Okay.
He's fine.
Okay.
I like start hacking some more. He kind of like goes to lift his head to like look up, and he just like lays down again. Just like he's not feeling good. He doesn't know if he's okay. He just does. He knows he doesn't feel good.
I'm gonna start ritual casting floating disc.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to get him somewhere where he can rest for the night.
Exactly.
Coincidentally, you are at a house.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I guess we could just be here if we want. Yeah, I guess it's easier not to move him at all. I'm gonna ritual cast alarm. Don't waste that 2 minutes, or
And so you guys are even though the day actually has been dragging on for a while. You were there upstairs for a long while, getting back and forth, and so on. You do actually spend the rest of the night resting. Bellum, I think you gain back 1 level of exhaustion, bringing you to a level 4, so you can actually start walking even if at half speed. So the next morning when you wake up, Bellum, I imagine you wake up after everybody else. You sleep in a bit, but when you do come to, you see Kyrann and Stallbor and Peter, much as you would expect. But then, much to your surprise, you see Reich lumbering around the room.
I like rub my eyes a bit. I look back at everyone. It looks like I count. I like lock eyes at Reich for a second, and I'm like, I rub my eyes again, and I'm like,
Morning.
Bellum, you have been turned to stone for 10 years. We found Rick.
hold on. I know I'm gonna get such bad penalties, but can I please insight that?
she's also a bad liar.
I know, that's why I want to insight it.
Disadvantage on all ability checks. Go right ahead. Kyrann, roll your bluff.
Is he still like exhausted?
He's exhaustion 4.
I'm
It goes
exhausted.
one every night's rest. It goes 1 better.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's exhaustion's terrible. That's why you
Yeah.
try not to get exhausted. And
Exhaustion, like level 1, you're like, I'll do it, and then once you
why
hit level
sickening-
2, you're like, I'm gonna go to sleep now. I'm gonna go to sleep right now.
Level 3, you're like, I can't hit things and I'll die.
Yeah.
That's your deception. Bellum, we're waiting for you to roll your...
Yeah, I
Isn't
know. I'm sorry.
exhaustion
My
like level
character-
6, you're dead?
Yes.
yeah. That's why sickening radiance is a good spell.
It takes you a few moments. Like, you actually do. Like, it scares you. But
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, Kieran's just an idiot. Okay.
Oh. You almost had me there, Kyrann. I can't believe you said I turned into stone. What really did happen to me?
Oh, yeah.
No, that was
You did turn into stone, Bellum.
you were really turned into stone just for
But it-
a couple days, I think, at most.
So that green ooze turned to stone and I was trapped inside?
It's more it turned you into stone. It's magical. It's the
Oh,
whole thing.
how the hell did Wright get here?
Well,
Fate.
yeah,
The
probably.
dragon
our
tell you to come here?
No, you definitely took the cake when it came to interesting, interesting hooks to get you here. But mine was much more mundane. I read them in the book.
Mm. Okay. Well,
Ironically,
Well,
I did not expect to run into you guys here. I was here of my own, on my own task, and just happened upon them. Just after your unfortunate stoning.
so did you guys find anything in that city?
There's absolutely nothing here.
Nope.
It sucks.
So he's been pretty like seeming exhausted, but like emotionless otherwise, because he just can't give the energy to form like facial expressions. But you see him just give you both like a knowing look, like I didn't want to fucking go to that city. Just like you, just like a.
It's true. So he's like, I don't want to go there.
We know where the Thrani elves are, I think. So once you're feeling more yourself, we can head that way.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
also might want us dead, so he should rest up before.
Yeah, that seems smart.
Were
How
not
did you
told to come
guys
speak to them?
Bring me back.
You do know that the dragon told you to go there, and I think he specifically said you were invited to go there.
Yeah.
He did.
He
But we-
did, but they're also assassins.
Correct.
Yeah, and also the goblins were apparently working with them when they said to
Correct.
kill us. So
Just making
The
sure you remember
goblin-
all the details. That's all.
I do remember all the details.
What you do with them, that's up to you.
I give him a kind of a quick overview of like what's going on. I say, the goblinoids that I'm sure you've seen some of on this island. They are split into two factions. One of the factions here, the more prevalent faction, are the hobgoblins who originally inhabited this island. They are, imagine, the precursors to the hobgoblin race.
Mm.
They are they were friendly to me. Their chieftain or their medicine man, whatever you might refer to him as, shaman, I think is the appropriate term. He was the one who gifted us the salve to cure you. Unfortunately, I wish it would be as easy as to say the other half, are easy to identify, and they are not exactly on our side. They are the ones that are working for the Thrani house. But they're pretty much exactly the same. They all come from the same clan, about half defected. So,
Well, I guess that means I won't be attacking any of them until they attack me. It's a good thing we didn't end up attacking them, and we just went and slept and camped. It's very smart.
well, Kyrann sort of threw a couple of them off a cliff. That was a
Wait.
bit of an issue.
What?
Oh, you slept through that.
Don't
Karen-
act so surprised by them.
Kyrann threw a couple of them off a cliff. They
See,
lived.
well, thankfully they did.
And they made some pretty tough
Jeez.
stuff, but
Well, from here on out, I don't plan to attack any of them unless they attack me first. No matter how bad the attack is, no matter how many of them there are,
thank
I
you,
need
Bill.
to repay that shaman and these people the best I can. I know we need to go see Thrani. I'm not sure how far it is from here. How far would you say?
I actually can't answer that question for you. Or should I say Kyrann can answer that question for you. Because you guys took to the mountains, you knew it was in the southern reaches. So just as a guesstimate, probably a solid 100 miles to the south as a guesstimate, but it could be give or take, 10, 15 miles.
Well, would you? So Kyrann would probably just tell me that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be like, well, I guess I really shouldn't travel yet. We should probably take a day to let me kind of get more in the loop, maybe rest another night, and then slowly start our travel once we can find good camps so we don't get attacked at night.
Take
You,
our time.
yeah.
That's one.
you You have been through an ordeal. We'll wait for you.
Okay.
Well, so you guys are able to spend kind of like the day down here, and it's kind of not so bad because you finished filling Reich of the various bits of information that of what happened in the prior campaign. Reich tells you guys about more or less why it was that he came here and the path that he took to get him to this island and so on and so forth. How he met those the indigenous here, et cetera, et cetera. You spend that night, long rest gets you back down to what's that? Exhaustion level 3. Bellum. Now, Bellum, if I remember correctly, you can't have everybody on the carpet now because now there's too many people adding Reich to the mix. But
Right.
Unless you were to leave somebody behind or have somebody just not flying as part of the weight of the carpet. But
I can just climb up this.
it does travel at what, 10 miles per hour at its normal speed.
When
Or-
I'm fully well rested and everything, 10 miles an hour.
That's not based off your speed. The carpet has its own
Right.
speed.
Yeah,
So you don't have to
being
worry about
hostile.
well rested. Yeah. But if you have everybody on the carpet, all 5 of you kind of like piled on, it's a bit uncomfortable with everybody being so tight. But it moves at 5 miles an hour. So that first day of travel, you guys could travel 40 miles out of the projected 100 miles. So is this kind of like the path that you guys are planning? This is what you want to do?
Yeah, I believe so. We want to travel and find a, like, even if we only travel 35 miles and instead take that extra 5 miles to make sure we find a good spot to camp, like just to be sure we're safe. I would say even that, just to be sure we're the safest possible.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to do that, then whoever is going to look for that camp, you can roll for me with advantage. If that's going to be Bellum, you're still rolling against disadvantage, so it's just a normal roll for you.
I feel like
Survival.
it's survival, right?
Yep.
Oh, you're looking for camps.
Yeah. So
Not
me with normal better than you guys with advantage, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Okay.
You know,
so-
I'm gonna action point that.
Oh, hey-oh. Eric,
Just make
you
sure we
should
get a
have
real
action
good
points.
spot.
So you get a +4, you get a 19, you get a pretty solid response to, pretty solid spot for you guys to spend that first night camping. Brings you down to level 2 exhaustion. You do the same thing the second night, another like 35, 40 miles, bring you most of the way to where it is that you're trying to go. Once again, sleep overnight. Roll me that survival check again, sir. Same situation, advantage, disadvantage.
But wait, don't I have advantage now?
Nope, because you're still at level 2
ability
exhaustion
check.
at this point. Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay, no problems. And then finally, like the third day, you still have level 1 exhaustion at this point. But you guys can make your way to where it is that this building is, where it is that the House Thorani is. So why don't we take our next and last break for the session, and when we come back, we'll see how things go. So it's nice to have the whole crew together, though.
Poorly.
It is
Yeah,
nice.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah,
Sucks.
it's funny because like Rank and Bellum barely interacted with one another, but
It's just been able to.
nice at least that they're here, right?
They don't need to talk. They're that good friends.
That's how it is.
They get each other.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. So, when you guys are spending this third and final day of traveling, because you're moving at this much slower pace, and I imagine that the actual ride in the carpet is, again, uncomfortable, with 5 people jam-packed onto the carpet for 8 hours at a time for those first 2 trips. That's a considerable amount of discomfort. The 4 of you are kind of used to it. Adding Reich, who is the biggest of all of you, is probably super annoying because Reich is not used to flying around on a carpet for many hours and probably moves around a considerable amount in his long, lanky arms. His obnoxiously huge sword that keeps like poking, like, you know, Stalbor in the side and stuff. It's, I imagine, not very fun for everybody. But anyways, so you are eventually able to take the carpets higher into the sky, into where it is to be a bit safer, looking for this stronghold that you are trying to find. Could you do me a favor, guys, and roll for me either survival or perception checks? Your call.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It doesn't matter what I roll. I still have disadvantage, though, right?
You do.
Okay, just making sure. I don't want to Eric it.
I'm rocking these perception checks today.
She's so perceptive to people, things, issues.
Okay with that.
Okay. So you guys are flying around and you spend a couple of hours. Like I said, it was a very short trip at this point. It's not much time to get down to the region. And you spend a few hours literally just trying to search around the region, trying to search and see where this place might be. But then Stalbor, being the smart boy he is, gets an idea. Perhaps you're looking at this all wrong. You're trying to find a castle or a house or whatever it is that's built out in this region that's going to be obvious and easy to find. Instead, he has Bellum take the carpet over to an area that you guys have already passed by once or twice beforehand. I mean, the mountains on the Stone Spur Islands are in the northern regions and the eastern regions, not so many to the south, but there are still some decent-sized hills and decent-sized craggy areas down here. He has Bellum go to an area that seems to always have a shadow cast over it, based off of like find a place where no matter where the sun is, it would seem to cast a shadow, and let's investigate that area. So taking that idea, Bellum watching that Stalbor watching that region, there is an area that is in fact that you're able to discover that is in fact often covered by the shadow of whatever the landscape is nearby. But there is a small period of time later on in the day where sun does peek through. And when it does, you are actually able to see a beautiful looking mansion that is nestled into the ground below that somehow was obscured from vision before. Bringing yourselves a bit closer, or using the spyglass and keeping it a safe distance, rather, you can see that, as I described, it is a gorgeous mansion that is situated down there. There's no guards here or there that you see. There's no guard towers that you see about. Nobody patrolling the area, nothing like that. Certainly no people flying around. Just with a garden in the back and a stone, like a cobblestone walkway in the front. A beautiful mansion.
Well, we're supposed to be welcome. Let's go knock on the door.
Yeah. Lovely place to die. Take us down to the front courtyard.
I do so, and I say, don't fight any Gorgons.
So you guys land your way down right into the front courtyard, over by where that rocky path is I had mentioned. And when you land down in the courtyard, you can actually see that there are others in the courtyard as well. You didn't notice them before because they may have been under a tree, or you didn't notice them when you're up above. But now, as you flew down, you did see them. And they
like
saw
little
you.
They were like ant-men and wasps.
No wasps. Nobody was flying. Only ant-men. Maybe one Ant-Man, and that's the only one that matters. So
that's historically not true.
So you land down there, and they notice you, and nobody really seems to be approaching you or saying anything. They take note of the fact that you're there and slowly go back about to doing whatever it is that they're doing.
Are they elves?
They are. Every one of them that you see are elves. One is leaning against a tree reading a book. 2 others seem to be like sparring, but it doesn't look like the practice sparring that you would think of an assassin. It seems like kids playing. And at a look at them, they are in their 30s, so they are children.
Young elves.
I
And
will.
I assume these elves are kind of dressed a little more Galifarian than...
Correct.
I'm gonna put the carpet away immediately. I don't want it to be out and about, so I put it away and conceal it the best I can.
Sure. As you're making your way towards the front door of this mansion, you do hear lovely music coming from on yonder, and looking in that direction,
Elevated music.
you do see that there is a group of 4 string instrument players, 2 violinists, a cellist, and a fiddler, with an instructor trying to teach them how it is that they kind of like work in harmony. And so the music is it perfect? No, but whatever song it is they're trying to do is clearly a beautiful song, even if it doesn't seem very well composed at the moment. But they are working on their instruments over in this region a bit far from you guys. It took a moment to pick it up.
goes over, but not too close, but he's kind of like completely blindsided and just sort of stands and watches.
Sure. So you go over and you stand and watch. They students, though not the instructor, at least not right away, see that they have an audience of somebody that clearly looks to be a stranger to the area. That actually inspires 3 of them to play significantly better. Like, oh, I have an audience, something for me to like inspire me to like to work for, right, to impress you. One of them gets some serious nerves, and you often hear that kind of like scratching noises as they're hitting their violin.
Is it the fiddler?
Hard. No, one of the violin players. So, yeah. Otherwise, though, again, the music is there. Eventually, when they finish, I know Stalbor is very patient, even if others are like...
I clap when they're done, no matter how good or bad it was.
Okay, so this is about 45 minutes later they do finish. Do the others join, or do you hang back to your own?
Or do you go to the fucking door without me?
I would probably be like, wait, we're
No, I'll listen to the
stopping
music.
here to listen to the music.
Is it nice?
It is, yeah. It's not terrible. It's not great.
I mean,
It's a nice song played by amateurs.
I can appreciate decent music, but is that why we're here?
Yeah, I would just say,
I actually really like the music. It's been a while since I've heard some.
I love the
Great.
violin.
Maybe we can catch it on the way out.
yeah, let's go.
You can go off without me. I'm gonna stay and listen.
Don't split the party, bro. No.
We're here to meet with the people here. So
Just
have
these
that
random
with the
people?
performance.
These random people are good?
Yeah,
No
why
one
not?
is random. Everyone is here for a reason.
All right, guess these random people just happen to be playing music, or who we're
Tell
talking
them be
to,
quiet.
right?
I'm trying to listen.
I need a shower. First time you've ever heard Bellum say that.
I look over to the door and I look back to you guys and I say, "Listen, I understand that you want to sit here and smell the roses, but let's be serious. We need to get this. We need to speak to these people.
Go ahead.
I don't need to speak to these people. You do.
I have no real interest in Thorani or their affairs.
Then why are you
Interested in
here?
the violin.
Because the dragon sent us here.
Are you being just needlessly obstinate because you don't because you were sent here by a dragon?
I'm trying to listen to the music, Reich. If you're going to be pretentious, can you be quieter, please?
No,
Trying to find purpose. And honestly, I haven't been to a show since before Dane died, so I'd like.
You know what? You know what, Reich? It's fine. It's fine. I'm taking a nap. Wake me up when you need me.
Sure. I go in the. I'll just sit cross-legged in the yard and just meditate while I wait for these guys to be done with whatever.
I'm like
Bullshit,
I'm like
dude.
next to Reich, like doing the same exact thing, only I'm snoring, and he's like meditating like very peacefully, and I'm just like, just kind of in a disrespectful manner.
So after the
What
show
a shame I don't
ends,
have silence. I will silence the hell out of you.
No.
so was saying the when the show finally ends, and you clap and everything. The instructor actually turns and says, "Oh, I honestly didn't realize we're having an audience. It's a pleasure meeting you," and comes over and shakes your hand.
I haven't seen an elvish performance like this for quite some time. I've been traveling the world. seen many elves. Not had a chance to stop and listen to the music.
He shakes Kieran's hand as well, to be clear, by the way.
Yeah, I'll shake his hand.
It's like, well, this wasn't much of a performance. They're students. They have a lot to learn, but luckily
Honestly,
they have a long
I
time.
appreciate the music of students. Mistakes complete the piece.
Sometimes a slip of the hand here or a miskey there can inspire a whole different song or an approach to a melody. Sometimes it's playing to our mistakes that we learn to have our own rendition of a song, and we use that to turn an old piece, somewhat forgotten, into a grand new one, or at least a new appreciation of it. So I'm glad that you have an appreciation of the music. I imagine that you're here for some sort of business. I don't know who any of you are.
Right. We are actually here on orders from Scott. What is his name? From what was the dragon's name? We would know his name.
Yeah, I never.
It's
remember
like official title or
We
whatever.
asked.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and I told you, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Quick reference: you say his name.
I say his name. We're here on behalf of so and so. He told us to come here that you might have information for us.
Yep.
You're
And
invited.
well, that's not my department. I'm here as a tutor to teach the students for how it is that they are to master their art of music. Of course, there are other arts that they will be learning at the school for those that have chosen to come here. You'll have to speak to somebody inside. They'll be able to assist you further.
So this is a school.
For some.
Mm-hmm. At this point, I'll sort of like, as I'm passing Bellum, I'll like push the end of my staff into his belly because he's laying down, and then start like walking to the door. That's how I get your attention. I'm me.
While we're walking back towards the other two, I will tell Starboard that I once tried to learn piano, but I wasn't very good at it.
My sister used to play the violin. She wasn't very good at it either.
Oh. Hey, so we're going inside now.
Yep.
Yes.
Did you get what you wanted over there? Was that fate?
Yeah, we're being nice to people. Apparently, it's what we're supposed to be doing.
I'm all for you being nice to anyone, Kyrann.
It takes a very concerted effort every time.
It does. I should be
Wow.
appreciated.
Right, let's I guess go.
I nod, and I'll stand up and follow after.
So you guys make your way to the door, and you go and knock on the door, and somebody a few moments later does open the door. They are dressed extremely well. As a matter of fact, they don't seem to be dressed too far differently from, this is specifically to Reich and Stalvor. The person that had originally opened the door of House Thorani a long time ago, clearly not the same
Like a
individual,
steward.
but similar clothing. And it says, hello. You are here for a purpose? What are your names?
Stalbor Graceride, Kyrann de Lurendar, Reichmer Talon, and Bellum. We were
Torn.
invited.
Last one says Peter.
I don't acknowledge Peter as well. I just forget he's there. He's very bland.
It's like, it's funny because the way you had just said it, it was just like, it's just funny. So he says, oh, yes, 4 of those names were expected to arrive. Who are you, Reich?
I am their companion.
You're welcome to come in. Please, everybody come in. As you kind of like ushers you guys into the door, and the grand entrance here is rather beautiful. So it is in fact, grand entrance that you walk into. There are pillars that hold up the high vaulted ceilings. The ceilings themselves, the crown molding, the decor that's all around, the golden filigree that's used to design the top of the pillars themselves. Even the side walls have huge bits of artwork that portray some of the best theater groups that have existed in the histories of Corvair. Not necessarily all of them House Thorani either. Just like amazingly well-renowned, well-known theater groups.
Dane
I mean, House
on
Farland?
here anywhere? Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry. Is Dane in here anywhere? So, do you actually go out of your way to look, or is it just kind of
Yeah.
a cursory glance?
Once I get the gist, I definitely would look at the mural.
So you just to be clear, I'm sorry. Do you step away from the gentleman speaking to kind of meander? Fair. Roll me a perception check or an investigation. Your call. That is good. Are you happy with your 19?
Yeah.
So,
It takes a lot for me to whip out the old action pointerinos.
Kyrann, do you join him? You sounded interested as well.
No, I am interested though if there are any House Farland members present, because they're the musically inclined ones.
That's true.
Correct. So you go looking around to see that, and yeah, there are a good number of them on the walls as well. So it does seem as though it's not limited to House Thorani, but House Farland. And as a matter of fact, House Farland takes, with a quick glance, maybe the greatest number of them. So is actually to the other house, and so the person does say. As the two of them, he starts speaking, and I imagine near the beginning, the Stalbor walks away. But he does say, "You're all welcome to come in and make yourselves relaxed. You have free reign of this room to look about." He says, watching Stalbor walk off, as well as this chamber over here. He turns and guides the rest of you into the next room over, where there's a lot of comfortable sitting spaces and whatnot. There's a fireplace that is lit, but you can clearly tell there's no crackle or heat coming off of it. It's just something that adds an ambiance of sight. And he says, "You're welcome to be relaxed here. I would just bring you into the library. However, you did bring somebody who's unexpected, so I have to clear up the matter to make sure that you're welcome in."
We can get rid of him if you want.
He's here.
I can wait outside.
He's here, and so he should be verified.
How long is that gonna take you?
A bit of time.
Do you have a place I can wash up?
I'll bring you that way. Come this way, sir. And he leads you actually out of the room and past Stalbar, who's looking at the most oddly dressed gnomish lass he's ever seen, and to an actual washroom.
So you said before we get to the washroom, you said this place is fairly ornate. It's a grand
Extremely.
There a fountain in here?
Not inside this room itself. However, when you go into a hallway that leads, it's like one of those wall fountains, one of the little ones that come off of the wall. It's like, why is that even there? It's
So
because
honestly,
the wall is so ornate.
He leads me there, past that, going to the bathroom, and Bellum just starts wiping the dirt off of him, at that fountain, just oh yeah, this is perfect, thank you. This is exactly what I was looking for.
So I imagine he is he's actually walks past the fountain a considerable amount, maybe a solid 15 20 steps before he is saying something to you, realizes that it was something that prompted a response and you didn't respond, so he looks back and sees you over there and he just gawks at you for a few moments. Bellum probably notices because he's pretty wise and he has a pretty good perception. And so he just calls from down the hallway, "You're fine there then."
Oh yes, this was perfect, thank you.
And you know your way back. You've barely left. So.
Yes, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Very well then, he says, and he turns to keep going back the way he was kind of leading you towards, and disappears out of sight. I imagine, Bellum, you do rejoin the rest of them.
I just rejoined the rest of them, maybe very, very, very slightly less dirty than I once was.
Okay. So, once you guys, does Kyrann and Reich have any conversation? I'm going to get you a second, Stalwart, but does Kyrann and Reich have any conversation while they're waiting?
I would go back to meditating unless she says anything to me.
Yeah, I would kind of just bother him.
Nothing significant, just bother
No.
him because you haven't done it in a while?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Stalbor, it does take a while of searching around, but eventually you do in fact find a painting of Dane. As a matter of fact, you don't just find a painting of Dane, you find a painting of Dane from a performance that looks painfully familiar.
Kyrann, Reich, come see this.
I stand up and go over.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I look annoyed that you interrupted my meditation, but as soon as I see what you're looking at, my expression changes to one of like shock, and then my eyes quickly dart over to Kyrann.
We were there.
Indeed.
It's a lovely photo.
I thought they might give him some honors in a place like this.
I'm actually genuinely surprised most of his music came from magic, not talent.
Magic, talent, takes a little bit of one to do the other most of the time.
He was a member of your house.
These paintings and statues and visages, they are not allied, they're just merely talent.
And I nod.
Oh, Luke would have loved this place.
I think what he was trying to do with music was important.
I think so too.
Reich doesn't agree. Reich's like, yeah, I understand the significance of like the words in this rap song, but that rap music, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. No.
You're telling me
it's
Dane
bad.
rap?
He did. I don't know if you remember. Maybe you should go back and rewatch.
No, I
episode
remember.
one.
I don't remember
do it.
rap. I remember though.
I remember
One of
that
the
god
basically the
awful-
first time I met you too. So that's really what the gate started with.
Yeah,
this
that was
whole
bad.
relationship.
And Scott was like, with like a stick that would lit up and like had a cape.
You know what? You don't
on.
need to spoil it. Everybody here has seen episode 1.
Oh,
So-
that was
so-
awful.
Yeah, and I screwed up that because it was brand new to streaming on myself too. So I screwed up the sound.
screwed
So
it
it was
up.
actually super quiet, and I was like,
It's super weird.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's so weird.
It's like it's one of those. Okay.
You're like dancing to nothing.
Yep. Well, not to me, but to you guys, to everybody else. All right. So, anyways, moving
So I will
on.
more quickly just like keep wandering around, clearly very interested in the music sort of side of all of this. Like trying to remember some of the names, all that sort of thing. Kyrann follows and they'll sort of chat about it. He doesn't bother Reich again because he tends not to.
So you eventually make your way to. So you eventually the gentleman comes back out, but he doesn't come back out alone. He actually comes back out with clearly somebody of greater prominence within the House Thorani. The person that comes out is she comes out. She's wearing actually robes that you would imagine remind you probably not of House Thorani at all. Remind you most of somebody who works for Morgrave University, like that. Very much that style of clothing that she wears when she comes out. Despite being a full elf, she actually has a full head of gray hair, none of her original color, unless this was it, left in her head. And her complexion is rather pale, though there are barely any wrinkles that grow on her face. Elves don't age in such a way where they just like prune up. But she does have the color of her skin has faded considerably. If you were to guess Salbor, though it's hard to tell because these Corvarian elves are so different than those of your people. She's probably somewhere between 6 and 8 centuries old. So certainly very old in age. And so she comes out.
Give her a bow before she gets up.
She doesn't have any marks of the shadow or anything like that on her. So she does come out and she says, welcome to the humble abode of House Thorani. I am one of the caretakers to the school that we have here. I am Mistress Valentia. Is it it's a wonder to meet the group of you. Some of you are people that I've been reading a considerable amount about for some time.
Oh?
I'm sorry? You made an expression.
I did. I was hoping you would elaborate on where you've been reading about us.
Oh, the various tomes that have come through the school and a few scrolls that I've come across as well.
How are we portrayed?
It depends on the scenario. Sometimes as heroes and Sometimes as villains.
Realistically, then, good.
You've come here with a task. You've been guided here. I know that to be true. I believe you were actually sent here by a force far greater than yourselves.
We came here with an invitation. I believe you, or someone here, is to know the task and the meaning and the why.
You come here seeking knowledge, and you don't come here with intent of destruction, so I'm willing to part knowledge with you. I believe in doing so would benefit us greatly. I'm sure you have many questions that you would like to have answered, some that I can do myself, and others that I'm sure you can find amongst the tomes when I give you passage to go about them. I do apologize for the hang-up, by the way. And she turns to Reich and says, you weren't a part of the invitation to come here, but you certainly do belong.
Why, thank you.
This room here is comfortable, she says, gesturing to the one where kind of Kyrann was bugging Reich. But we do have others that are a bit more comfortable and perhaps a bit closer to the kitchen, if you would like to join me there instead.
Bellum just starts walking whichever way she seemed to gesture toward.
So you guys make your way towards the with you following through with her. The person that was kind of guiding about before and directing about before, he stays behind. So as she walks forward, the hallways aren't so wide that you can walk 6 abreast, right? So who chooses to walk side by side with Valentia?
I definitely will.
Okay. So Stalbor takes the lead and walks side by side. So she does say to Stalbor, she's like, I imagine there are many things that you and I could learn from one another, young one.
I believe so too.
Do you miss your home? Do you miss your home?
This place definitely makes me miss my people. Some people. As a whole, I actually do not miss my home. I feel like returning there for multiple reasons would just not be comfortable anymore.
She kind of like leans in, almost like she's whispering, and she softens her voice a bit, but it can easily be heard by everybody. She goes, "It's a bit of an addiction, isn't it? Living the way they do. Every moment's an exciting one. Every day filled with joy or fear or anger.
Or sorrow.
There's a lot of that. Sorrow is probably the one that hits you the hardest. The way we handle sorrow, it's paced over the course of decades, if not centuries. But the way they handle sorrow is abrupt. It passes very quickly. A month or two, most of it is gone, but then comes collapsing on them like heavy waves and moments of thought, generally when they're left alone to their own thoughts. But it is an addiction, despite the pain that it brings, isn't it?
It's a good way of wording it. I suppose I'd never really, truly, introspectively thought on it in that way. You're right.
She straightens back up a bit and she says, but like all good things, they must be done in moderation. An addiction can go too far. And she gives you like a smile with her, her eyes that still have all their color to them.
He smiles back and nods, but it's clear he's aware, and it's like when someone's like gives you advice, like, yeah, I respect it, but no. It's one of those.
Oh, of course. Like anybody ever to anybody ever giving advice.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
So you go about, you continue walking with her. The rest of the way is relatively silent, but also very short. As she opens a door, which I imagine Stalbor, being the nice person he is, kind of reaches and even gets the door for her. Into a large room that actually, this room itself looks to be a library. It looks to be a quite filled, beautiful, very, very old library that they have here. So you look about and you do see that this is very filled. This does have, in fact, a real fireplace that is actually lit with actual crackling and stuff like that, which is funny because the fake one was where there were no books and the real one is where they are. And there is a large table off to the side. This is one of those tables that you have seen, like if you visit like a real library, library in real life, where it's like the table itself is like ornate wood, and the legs of the table are very ornate wood, but most of the actual table surface is like a stone slate that's been set in and is extremely ornate. All the chairs are overly ornate, and the table itself actually takes up a huge portion of the room, with off to the side various areas of gathering sitting chairs that are set about, all of them very large in size, clearly ones that you can either get comfortable sitting upright in or can easily kind of curl up into because of how wide they are. Like a good cafe, right? And so looking out this room and its high ceilings and kind of like the warm feeling that it gives, you guys do walk in, and it is a bit dim for those that don't have dark vision. It is a bit dim in here. But you do, I suppose I keep forgetting 5e only has dark vision. So for those that don't have dark vision or eyes that easily adjust to the darkness, it is a bit dim. But she does lead you in, and she actually will go over to the table, and she'll sit at the table, but not like the head of it, one of the side ones. Gestures for you guys to sit as well. She says, I know you came here with many questions, and I would like to answer them for you. But I suppose the most prevalent question, the one that is sitting at the tip of your tongue, is, was it House Farland that killed Dane? And the answer to your question is no. Sorry, it was House Thorani, my apologies. Was it House Thorani that killed Dane? And the answer is no. It was not.
With all due respect, wouldn't you tell us that if you did?
Would we tell you? We would. You came here seeking answers by invitation.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to give you answers.
Okay.
So it was not us that killed Dane.
I mean, honestly, I always thought it was House Farland. She was trying to escape them.
It is very likely that it was House Farland. But that was a strange situation that he found himself in. Kyrann, I imagine you have the most questions then. Please feel free to
I just
fire
want to
them
know what
off.
happened.
To Dane specifically?
Yes.
We do not know who felled that final blow, but we do know why he was where he was. He stumbled across a secret, many secrets, because of that one secret, and he went to Farland with that information. He shared it with them, used them to have protection against the other houses, and that worked in his favor when they were not included in what was happening. But then they were. They're joined on to the grand scheme.
So, the lamp magic, is that you or Farland?
That's them.
Okay.
It is a brilliant bit of magic that we have been working to figure out the workings of so that we can construct it ourselves. Thus far, though, that is theirs. They have it contracted through House Cannith to produce a considerable number of them. They have grown even closer with Cannith than ever they were before.
So, what are the houses hiding?
More importantly, why are they working so closely together? What is this grand scheme of theirs?
There's been a discovery. A new mark has appeared. And the houses are working as hard as they can to try to, or were working as hard as they can, even though that is still their intention, to try to eliminate the mark, because it would throw off the balance. It would throw off everyone's ability to make their profits and everyone's comfortable seat of power. And they worked very hard and very close together to disguise and hide all the unexpected details that have made their way out after this mark appeared.
What does this mark do?
I do not have that answer for you. I don't believe it's fully understood, but I do know where it can be found.
Where?
It's one particular tribe had many of its members develop this mark on the plains of Droam. It was the... Does Bellum interject, or just hum?
He just hums.
It was the hyena folk out there that exist. Are you familiar with them?
Knowles?
The Gnolls.
Yeah.
Huh.
They've developed their own mark.
Now that is a worrying portent.
Oh, and that's why Deneth has been murdering them. Oh. That's troubling.
You knew of Deneth's heavy-handed slaughter of the Gnolls?
Yes, I did know of that.
The marks that appear on the bodies of elves and humans alike, and he gestures towards Kyrann and then to Bellum. Gestures towards Kyrann and then to Bellum. They're very easily seen. They're very easily found because they are worn proudly or hard to cover. But for a Gnoll,
They have fur.
and so when they came to slaughter that pack, many of them fled, including the young. All of them. They fled, found their ways into other tribes. It's been hard to track them down, hard to finish them all. But that hasn't stopped the armies from marching and the blood from spilling.
So this stems from a ideal that these are less than people. That if they have any type of power, then they are giving power to monsters.
I think it doesn't matter who this mark appeared on. I think the houses would try to destroy it no matter what. They believe that the world is in balance as it is, though anyone who studied ancient history would know that the draconic prophecy has a mind of its own.
I mean, yes, but there's power in numbers even with a new mark. If a bunch of humans developed a new mark, I think they might find a way to use that for their advantage. I think this is much more specifically because who's developing the mark.
I think the fear of gnolls probably does help the hatred. Makes it
I
easier to
think
condone a
if they
genocide
were-
against them.
I think that if they were a more prominent race, they would have more resources, more people willing to help them.
Yeah.
I do have a question, a pertinent question I imagine is at the back of all of our minds. Why are you helping us? Why is Thorani, or at least yourself, not a part of this scheme? What do you seek to gain from giving us this knowledge?
I'm not the leader of House Thorani, though I am a very proud member of it since near its inception. You can see I bear no sign of the mark. I do not carry that in my blood. But my loyalty is to the house, because the house is a noble one. We seek truth and facts, and we part those where they needed to be, and we join those where they need to be to make sure that a correct record is kept of things as they transpire. And there are libraries hidden in pockets here and there to keep this information as best as we can.
So you try to silently shape time.
Yes, we tried to keep record of it,
Understood.
but not everybody appreciates records being kept well. So, when the houses began this task to eliminate the gnolls. They went to great lengths. There's this one gnome. She's brilliant. And what she was able to engineer.
What's her name? I don't remember it.
Luca knew it.
Gorgon.
She was. God damn it. 1 second.
Hold on, I'll pull
This is a Y.
Yeah,
It was actually on the wiki when we were keeping track of NPCs.
that's actually where I'm going right
Sleep
now.
Portal.
Where is my... I could pull it up in a couple of minutes. But yes, her. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but it is in the Obsidian Portal. It's
That
just
NPC.
getting there is a
The
pain in the ass.
Gorgon. She had a nickname. We're good.
Gnomish Gorgon, yep. So she says she was brilliant at what she was able to, and so Kyrann mentions her, and she says, yes, there were dealings with her in your group in the past, or at least some of you in the past.
I have the name, but I can't pronounce it.
Oh, how's it spelled?
Starts with an S, right?
It's Yossys.
Oh, Yosis.
Oh, Yozis.
Yosis. Yes.
Yosis.
That's right, Yosis. So so Yosis, she says, I was brilliant in what she was able to create. She did so with the aid of the other houses, because she could push limits and allowed them to stop this information of there being a new mark being created. It allowed that information from not getting out there. But then the houses saw an opportunity. Not only were they able to block the information of one house to the next, but they were also able to block communication between one region to another. And if we all haven't learned this in the past century, without strong communication, you don't have a very good chance of success in an ongoing fight. Some of the house leaders have whispered for a very long time they don't like their place in the world. They don't like that they have set rules for what they are and aren't allowed to do, despite the fact that they have more wealth than those that impose these rules upon them. And so a few of the houses have been working to change those rules. What started off as a plan to hide the fact that there is a new mark that has come into existence has developed into a shift of power to bring the houses into greater prominence.
So does House Thrani agree with this or disagree with it?
We spoke our part. We've lost blood. And we are no longer a part of the conversations. I have a feeling that our place in the New World Order will be minimal, if at all. If a genocide is able to happen well enough to stop one mark from existing, why not another?
Bellum will definitely nod and say, well, do you feel like you need to be silent? Do you feel like you need to be minimal? Do you feel like you can prevent this?
I do not speak for the whole house.
No, I know.
I share information. My place in this house is to gather information using magics that I've had for a very long time.
With the information that you know true, do you think if someone were to take on the houses, they could put an end to this alliance and destruction of the new mark?
It's been so much time since that mark started to be thinned out. The moon, when you look past the clouds and into the sky, the moon is fading. It is more often new than full. It is not going to stay here long. The moon, of course, being one of the unpredicted side effects of the appearance of another mark. And the reason why the Gnomish Gorgon did what she did and crafted what she has. Yes, but things will never return to the way they were.
Things don't need to be the way they were. And he looks at Kyrann very I guess it would be sympathetically. And then looks back at this woman and says, the way things were didn't seem to be best for anyone. I think it needs to be new. New has the opportunity to be better. They say if it's not broken, don't fix it. But this has been broken such a long time, it only seems not broken, even the way it was before. So I think it's time it's fixed. What's going to stop them from killing all the gnolls just because they don't want a chance of another mark and just obliterating the race? What's going to stop them from killing any other race just because they might get a mark?
We are.
Exactly. And turning and looking at like the group of us, Bellum will say, and I would rather no one by my side. However, we do extend an invitation and like kind of looks at Kyrann, Stalbor, and Reich for kind of like approval to all the help we can get.
And much help you will need to succeed in this battle, but all that House Thorani can offer to you is knowledge. And so House Thorani is offering exactly that. There is here before you a library. Consider this library a lesson. You can spend time here studying the books and the scrolls to understand how it is that we filter through our library below. Consider this room here, and you can see there's thousands of books, as a bit of a card catalog as well as a cursory course as to how it is that we organize our true library. So when you go below, the questions that you seek answers to, you can get the answers, even ones that you've asked me. It's very likely you can find the answers. Just because I do not hold them here doesn't mean they aren't there. So I offer the aid of House Thorani and the knowledge that you will be able to seek down below. But you are not wrong in needing more aid than just words and tomes and dust. You're going to need blades and blood to assist you moving forward. And for that, you're going to need allies that would be affected by this more than others. Perhaps those that have been kicked to the dirt in the past by current regimes themselves. Ones that would also look to rise, if not anew, but once again to a prominence like they've had before. Perhaps you should look to find aid from those that would be willing to fight against the houses because their own race doesn't have any bearing for the success or the failures of them.
Perhaps that would be true. Perhaps we need to travel a bit further than we originally hoped for.
Might not need to travel too far, she says, and her eyes kind of like look over towards Reich, who I think is asleep with his eyes open.
No, I don't know what she means by that.
Goblins.
The hobgoblins.
I don't think he was listening to the past 6 paragraphs.
No, I was.
I think he was.
You
Wa-
say
he was
there's a
watching.
pause,
He was
Stalbor
watching
says-
Dean Cuddy porn. That's what he was doing. It's
There's a
canon.
pause. Stalbor says, "Goblins have no mark. They were once great. They always strive to be that again. And I believe they may be some goblin folk who know a little more about what's going on than at first we realized. We once intercepted goblins attempting to slay Yosis.
This is true.
It seems as though perhaps they had the right idea in mind. Bloodshed isn't the first choice, but sometimes it's the only choice.
You've given us a lot to think about and a lot to read.
I
will-
do have one more question.
Please.
Do you know why Lhazaar Principalities are being attacked by in particular? Is it really just a power play? The people there don't seem to know anything about it.
They're not. The storm that exists around most of the mainland of Corvair to keep those within the storm ignorant above. The device that was created by Yosis is a device that was affixed to the various airships that fly overhead. It's a device that creates the storm. The storm itself is not just bad weather. It's a type of magic that disrupts communication, disrupts divination, and even obscures sight. So even in the clearest of skies and the darkest of nights, you look up and you see what you've always seen before, but not that moon.
Hmm.
And
Makes a lot of
this
sense.
device, do you know where it is?
Inside each and every one of the airships that flies overhead. It actually helps to increase the altitude that they can fly at.
Do you know how many airships there are?
I would not have that answer, but you may be able to find it below.
Thank you.
She nods. She looks to the rest to see if anybody else has any questions, though I imagine most of them are very contemplative, especially Reich at the moment, because he's trying to realize what everybody was discussing, and how it very much pertained to him. Does anybody else seem to have any more questions?
I do when she's left.
Oh, okay, sure. So when everybody seems to be very contemplative, she does push herself to her feet and she says, "Then, with the exception of the dorms and perhaps a chamber that's currently being used, the house is open to you. You're welcome to stay within the walls or on the grounds. You will find safety here. I hope that your travel here was a safe and comfortable one, but you are welcome to stay here and research what you must. I will be about if you have any further questions."
Oh, why did those goblinoids attack us outside?
Goblinoids outside?
Uh,
Oh, you mean those that we have forged an alliance with?
Mhm.
Once again, bloodshed is not the first option, but sometimes it's the only one. And to keep a secret, sometimes you need to keep those that stumble across it silent. You probably stepped into an area that was being patrolled, and they did what they were asked to do.
Which was no survivors, and it ended up killing a lot of them, or tried to.
That's unfortunate. I wish you were able to find an easier way here without coming across them.
Oh, not the ones that you made alliance with. Perfectly innocent ones.
It's unfortunate again. It's not something that I have a hand in or a part of beyond being a member of the house that made these decisions and put these pieces in motion. But I do understand the gravity of the death of innocence. Let's just hope that their deaths aren't wasted, and it gives you some insight on ways to approach situations in the future and bring success in our cause.
I shake my head at that.
I'm like nodding, like yeah, and then she's like, no. I'm like, yeah, no, it's good. I like that.
Yeah.
She well then she gives like another pause and nobody says anything. She turns and she walks out of the room.
I wait for like a couple of seconds before like doing that like jog walk to the door and like catching up on the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And not catching her arm, but stepping up to her and saying, "I do have one further question."
And she looks past you, because I imagine she turned around to see you. She looks past you towards the door that had shut behind you and the fact that there was nobody with you. And then she looks back at you, clearly understanding.
Do you take new initiates?
To the house.
If you say that again, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. She says, to the house.
Yes.
My dear boy, it's not my decision to make. I joined the house because I've earned my own way in. I imagine the same will be true. And she gestures out a window where you see other unmarked elves about. The same would be true because they were just a few years ago. Perhaps they are now, and they will again.
I think I could give you a name, and you might be able to push it in the right direction.
And with that, she actually, for the first time, seems a bit flat like she didn't expect you to say that. She says, "Then not yourself."
No, never.
Oh, what's this name?
And I will tear out a little bit of the back of my spellbook and I write down a name and I hand it to her.
Okay. She takes it and she looks at it. Clearly, she lingers on the last of the names that was written there, because there's always long names, and raises an eyebrow at you, and then she says, "I will look into the scrolls and see what I can find."
My thanks.
And she will give you like a bit of a warm smile and turns and walks back down the hallway. Okay. And you make your way back into the room with the rest of your friends. And as you guys are looking at each other and surrounded by books that were described as a card catalog and a cursory lesson on how it is to approach the library below, you all are starting to feel a bit small and overwhelmed. Well, all, of course, except Reich. He's so fucking excited right now. The amount of red tape and reading he's going to have to do. He's going to learn this whole new organization method. He is like beaming with giddiness right now.
Show me your card catalog. And stand aside, please.
He's like, I've got a rotting Gorgon lung sitting in my backpack. Nay, nay. Let's get to these books.
Someone throw that on some ice. I feel like that's probably going to start smelling.
That's awesome. So anyways, with that being said, that ends not only this session, but that actually ends this chapter of the game, which was, I like to believe, very aptly named Eberron, Eye of the Storm.
I suppose it was Kieran's little story.
Yeah, no. And next week we will not have Eberron for two reasons. One, Eric and Aaron have a lot of things that they need to take care of, and so they will be driving, and it'll make life easier for them. Two, William is going to be drunk off of his ass. And three, I might be the ass that William is drunk off of.
Chat in Discord to find out more.
Please don't take pictures.
There's a logistical issue here.
I don't like it.
I did the math. I don't think this is working out anymore. I quit.
All right. So no Eberron next week. We will come back the week after that. I believe. I don't think there's anything happening. I believe we'll come back the week after that. So,
We'll see.
With the new chapter. So in the meanwhile, Oliver, who are you and how can we find you?
Don't say that name to me.
Oliver.
Oliver. Hey, I'm Ollie. You should check me out at twitch.tv/OllieRant and Twitter at OllieRant. I do art. Sometimes I'm awake for my own streams. On Wednesday next week at 7 p.m. BST, we are starting Stars Without Number, my campaign with Scott and with Will.
I gotta update my website.
I've needed to update my website for years.
I have to update my website. I just realized that because like you're changing shows, I'm changing shows, and I haven't updated it. I'm a bad
And
boy.
there
Keep
might
going.
be another Ollie RPG show in the wrapping up stage of organization. So hold on to your hats. Who knows what might happen to them? I mean, in like an RPG gear thing, like headsets count as hats, so you know you're good. Don't makes me That's me. That's an Ollie.
William.
Well, you can find me on all the things at Will Call Brewing, and like talk to me on Discord where I talk shit about Aaron most of the times. For the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be holding on to this hat just for Ollie.
Oh, heyo. That's a lot. Eric. And then I have something exciting.
Aaron or Eric?
Both.
Aaron.
Both?
Same time.
Hi.
Talk
Same
over
time?
each other.
All right. I'm
Loudest
Aaron.
wins.
Find me!
I can actually hear.
I don't know if the people next door will shoot me. This is New Jersey.
That is true.
Well, yeah, I'm on the things at Kunsa64. I will sometimes respond in Discord. If you want to talk to me at Discord, but don't at me.
Don't at
I'm
me, bro.
aggressive.
He used to respond more often. Then he went to New Jersey and realized if I'm on my phone too often, I'm gonna get shot.
No,
Aaron,
it's more like I
How it works. Hi, I'm Erin. I'm active on the Discord where I make fun of Will and Scott and Eric and sometimes Ollie, because that's fun occasionally. And that's it.
This is my
all I
Ollie
do.
face.
All right, that's offensive.
All right, Delric here. Hi. How you doing? I actually have a new show. So we were playing Mass Effect for a long while at 9 a.m. EST on Wednesday mornings. We're actually going to be starting a new show. I'm very excited to announce what the show is. That will be starting not this upcoming Wednesday, but the following one. So we'll be going live with that there with some faces you may have never seen before. So we'll figure that one out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So definitely stay tuned for when I announce it. As always, join the Discord. We do have a lot of fun down there. False Pretense Discord. The click is down there. That's right. Just touch it down there, and you'll be good to go. Other than that, you can find me at delric.com. My information will be updated to be correct sometime.
So there's an important thing I need to mention about the Discord. There's a kind of glitch thing where general chat's not really general chat. You want to go to Yavaskir spoilers and just type all about your children and any other things. You want to put that all in the Yavaskir.
I hate.
It's a weird.
There isn't any Yavaskir game right now, so why not use it for everything else?
It's funny.
Isn't there?
It's no, there isn't.
Oh.
So it's funny because I was actually going to make a new category and do like current games and non-current or past games and move Mass Effect and Yavaskir to that category. So I mean, if you want to keep it current, I suppose you could do that.
I'm going to fix things soon with this.
Also, I mean, if you ever
Follow
get
the
bored of,
fucking-
if you ever get bored of that spoilers room, just go to Ollie's art room, his showroom.
Yeah, directly
Talk
to
there.
Ollie's showroom.
Just talk there, and make sure you at
I
everyone.
have the
while
power
you're-
to ban.
Yeah.
I will wield that hammer.
At everyone while you're in there, because that's what cool people do.
All right. We actually just got a raid. What's this? Rindis PWG. Hello. Thank you for the raid. Unfortunately, we're actually about to bounce off. We actually
Worst time to do that.
we just not only
I
finished the
have
session,
most-
but actually finished this chapter of the game. So we're actually going to be bouncing off now, but very much appreciated. Thank you so much. So see you all not next week, but the week afterwards, because again, next week will be William's bachelor party, so we'll be getting drunk. So I'll see y'all later. All right.